Well, good evening, good morning, good afternoon, whatever it is in your time. This is the 1122 Wingnut Radio out here for Anarchy Television, saying hello to everyone out there in YouTube land. And I don't know, I was kind of bored, and I had got a comment not too long ago, like yesterday, I think it was, from somebody asking me about radio stuff. And they were asking me about a Bofang radio, but it's a GMRS radio, which I'm not familiar with the particular radio and the menu options and all, or the menu stuff. But I'm assuming when it comes down to it, the all the menu stuff is generally the same when it comes down to all these Bofang radios. So I decided I was gonna show the basics on how to set a GMRS frequency for a GMRS repeater in a regular Bofang radio. Like this is a regular. This one happens to be a UV5R V2 plus, which is basically the same thing as a UV5R. It's the same basic setup, and all the menu options are basically the same. So what I'm going to do is I've got a list of different repeaters in the area because I'm in Panama City. So I've got a bunch of different repeaters and stuff like that for GMRS. And, I've got, the repeater frequency, if it's a plus or minus, it's a plus or minus side of the offset. And then sometimes they have a PL frequency, which is actually like like a tone that would activate the repeater. So if you actually find um, frequencies, like you can go on the internet and you can find lists of different frequencies and stuff like that for different repeaters in your area and stuff like that. Um, this is what they'll probably give you is like a frequency plus or minus and the offset, and then also if it may or may not have a a tone. So and that would be they would probably say it's a PL, but that's the same thing as let's see here, let me find it in the dang menu thing. Where is it? Now I want to say oh, this one doesn't, should have a transmit CTS code. I mean, this one's got a reception. I'm gonna try to find this thing right here on this thing. I'm trying to find it. It's this. It's a CTCS code. That would be the PL. So I'm assuming. See, it should have a transmit, also a receive. This one's only listening and a receive. Let's see here. I guess it's the same thing on this one. See, the menu on the UV5RM, I'll show you that right offhand on the menu part of it. Yeah, see, on the menu part, I don't know if you guys can see this. Light over here. Actually, hold on. Let me switch this thing down to a vertical thing here. All right. What's up, Garrett? Now, see, it lists the RDS and the RCTCS. That's the receive end of it, but this has also got the transmit CT. Yeah, no kidding, Garrett. No kidding. Well, like I said, I was bored this morning, and the people that are on live right now really are doing nothing but just sitting there talking shit, and I just like it's just annoying to sit here and listen to it. So I just got bored. So I decided to do a live. And like I said, somebody who just subscribed to my channel just recently asked me a question on a radio, a Bofang radio, which is a GMRS radio they got, and they asked me how is it the same way to set a repeater in the radio? And I was like, well, I mean, what's up, Callie? Letney. Yeah, I hear you, Gary. It can get really just annoying. It's just because there's nothing productive out of it. There's nothing positive coming out of it. There's nothing, it's just nothing but just drivel, being talked about, or, a bunch of drama, fighting and yelling and there's nothing positive coming out of the whole live stream, in my opinion. So I mean, I was just like, I just got tired of it. So I decided to do my own live. You know, and but like I said, somebody was asking me if it would be the same way. Here, I'm going to use my UV5RM, but it's basically the same thing. Like I said, I've got a list of frequencies here of GMRS repeaters in the area, and when you look these things up, when you like, if you were wanting to find repeaters and utilize the GMRS repeaters in your area, you can find a list of them and stuff like that on the internet, on Google or whatever. But this is majority of the time, this is what you'll end up finding. You'll end up finding the frequency. You'll find if it's a plus or minus of the offset, and the offset would be normally for a GMRS, it would be 5.0. And then sometimes, not all the time, but sometimes they'll have a tone that you have to transmit to activate the repeater, and that be listed as a PL, and that is actually the transmit CTCS tone. and that will be in your menu options. All right. When you go into your menu options, you'll find that, and this is how you would set the PL number, all right, or the tone frequency. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to set one of these. I'm going to set one of these frequencies in my radio, so I can just go through it. You know how it's done. All right, let's see here. See here, I got this turned on. Yeah, okay. First off, you have to get out of your channel mode. Like I said, I'm down here on the bottom part, but I'm not sure on that dude's radio if you have to have it on the top or the bottom. I'm not sure, but I'm on the bottom side. But I'm going to switch to VFO mode. All right, get off your channel mode and go to VFO. This is a channel and VFO button on the UV5R or UV5RM. Anyway, go to your VFO mode. Type in your frequency that you want. Now let's see here. I'm going to do the Fort Walton Beach frequency, which is 462.600. All right, and I'm going to go in my menu, and on my menu, it will be channel 29 will be to set the offset. All right, and channel 28 would be to set the frequency shift direction, which is plus or minus of that offset. All right, and then I'll go to the 30, which is the memory storage option on the menu. What's up, Andy? Good morning. So, before I set everything into store it into the memory, since this repeater has a PL number of 156.7 as the frequency or for the tone, I have to go down. I have to go to the TCTCS, the transmitter tone. You have to set that in there first. All right, before you set everything in there. So there's 4 steps. You would set the offset, you would set the frequency shift direction, and the TCTCS tone. All right, those are the steps before you go and save it into your memory. So right off the bat, like I said, is go into my memory, and I'm going to go to, was it 29? Oh, 0, 2, 9. All right, that's my offset. All right, now this one is a 5.0 offset. So I go push the menu button, 0, 0, 5, 0, 0, 0. That's the 5.0 offset. Push the menu button again to set it. All right. And like I said, I need to go on a positive side of that. So I'll go, down to my shift frequency direction. And I'll go to the menu again. push the menu, and this one is a positive side, so I'll go up to my positive. See, it's blinking. Push my menu button again to set it in there. All right, now, like I said, this one has a PL number of 156.7. UK Transparency, good to see you. Good to see you. And that one is, what is that? It's number 12 on my menu option. I'll go back in the menu, and I'll just scroll down to 12. All right. See right there is a TCTCSS. All right. I'll push the menu button. Now this one has a tone number of 156.7. So I'm gonna go down, or let's see, or go up. Let's see if we, all right, I'm just gonna scroll through this thing until I get to the 156.7 hertz. All right, I'm gonna set that in there. All right, and then I'm gonna go, since I've done the offset, the shift direction, and the tone, I'm gonna go ahead and go to, what is it? It's 30 on my menu. I'll go to 30 on my menu, which is the set the memory channel. Set it in your memory. All right, and I'm gonna push my menu, and I'm gonna scroll down to my next available open channel that I don't have, which I think is 64. I think. No. Oh, okay. It's 70 is my next open channel. See, my next open channel, see, it doesn't have a CH in front of it. If it does, on, a lot of these things, it'll show a CH in front of it. That means you've already got something locked in. All right, my next available channel is channel 70. So I'm going to go ahead and push my menu and set it in channel 70. I'm going to go push my exit button, get out of that. All right, I'm going to push my VFO and channel button and go back to channel mode. See, I'm on channel 70. All right, when you key up, if you notice the frequency right here will change because it's transmitting on a different frequency and you're receiving on this frequency. That's how repeaters work. You're actually transmitting onto another frequency and you're receiving on this frequency. See, it changes. See how it jumps up to from 642 to 647. That's because the offset is up to the positive side. It's gone up 5 hertz up, or kilohertz or whatever, up the frequency. So that's how you tell. And then also this one also shows it's a plus sign, so it shows if it's a plus or a minus. The H means I'm on high power. And also when I key up, you see that little circle symbol right there? That means I've got the tone for the repeater set in. Now, the one I set in here is Fort Walton Beach, so that's a good distance away from me. So I seriously don't think I'm going to be getting it with the amount of power I'm running out of here and this antenna. I think sometime today, I've got a package coming in from Amazon with a it's supposedly a car mount type antenna with like a magnetic base on it. But I'm not going to use it for like a car. I'm going to just, rig it up here at the house and make one of these radios as a base station, basically. Eventually, I'm going to get another piece of equipment where I can take two of these radios and make my own, my own repeater in a way. Where you plug it in. It's a little box, basically, that you plug one radio in, and it plugs into the speaker mic ports right here. All right. And you would get two radios, for instance, and this little box has two cables. All right. It's got one cable to go in one radio and another cable to go in this radio. So you plug it into there and you plug it into here, and one radio will be your transmitting radio and one radio will be your receiving radio. And that will end up being your basic, um, poor man's repeater, as they would say. You know what I mean? So you can put this like in a watertight box, or ammo can or something like that. You would have like, what I'm going to do is I'm going to probably get probably just have one radio that's got like an antenna like this, or maybe get one of my longer ones as the receiver, and then I'll put probably that car mount antenna on the transmitting radio, and have that, so I can you gotta have. That's another thing too. If you want to do this, you're gonna have to have a little bit of distance between the two antennas. So the car mount antenna's got a long coax, so I can put that, further away from this antenna, and then I can have it a lot higher up. Like, if ever, what I'll probably end up doing is maybe sticking that car mount antenna somewhere up on my tower, so it's higher up and way further away. And the benefit of this is, for instance, it's, of having your own basic repeater, you can get a little bit more distance out of it. Like, for instance, I have access to a lot of property around here, and it's not always a problem. you know um if I'm out here on the property and stuff like that, getting from radio to radio just simply, it's not always a problem, but sometimes it can be, depending on the terrain and where you are and stuff like that. So this is the poor man's repeater, what I'm talking about right here. So for instance, I can have this set up in like an ammo can, or like a watertight like Pelican box or something like that, and have it like somewhere in the middle, of the property or something like that, just like sitting somewhere, and have it set up. And what it will do is, like, if me and somebody else were, and a good distance apart from each other with a lot of obstructions in between us, I can have this poor man repeater somewhere in the middle of it all, and we can be on. We can set our radios to that frequency. For instance, I can set it to to this um, poor man's repeater frequency, which would be, um, we would be listening on one frequency, and the repeater would be transmitting out on a different frequency. So, when we key up, we would transmit to the repeater. The repeater would push it out, and and then we would receive that transmission on another frequency. Right. Well, see, at UK Championship, that's the reason why I'm talking. Like, for instance, I'm talking about the poor man's repeater. Yeah, I'm not a ham operator. All right. And I can't afford an actual repeater with a duplexer and all that stuff. I can't afford that. I mean, they're like $400 or $500 for something like that. This is the poor man's version of it. That's the reason why I'm talking about it. You know, I mean, um, yeah. Ideally, well, that's the reason why I'm talking about, like, for instance, like the transmitting radio. I'm going to put like that car mount type antenna that's got a long coax. I can have that like way up in a tree or you know, in a higher spot, and that would be, you know, that would take care of the coverage of the whole property, for instance. You know, the only thing is, like I said, when it comes down to this, like I said, this is the poor man's deal. So I got to deal with the batteries. You know, how long they last, and then, you know, if I, you know, which I could modify to the point where I can have everything being recharged or kept topped off with a solar panel, and then I, you know, it would run, you know, in theory indefinitely. But you know, I knew some firefighters that would make this poor man repeater, that made it a lot easier because they would just, it was easy to deployable. You know, all you had to do, they had it all packed up in like an ammo can, and they just take it out on the highest hill of where they're working and set it up, and they'd have coverage throughout where they're at. You know, and instead of relying on like an established repeater on a tower. Um, yeah, exactly. Okay, I'm telling you, that's exactly what I'm doing. I'm doing with what I can, with what I've got, with what I can afford. And majority of the time, I can't afford very much. I do the cheap route out, and you know, that's just the way I can do things. And like I said, there was a guy that you know, commented on one of my videos, and he was asking me, you know, when it comes down to, he bought a GMRS Bofang radio, and he was asking me if it was basically to set repeater frequencies and stuff like that, if it was the same basic process that it is on just a regular, you know, Bofang ham radio, which it is basically the same. It just depends on like your you know, like your menu options. Um, I'm not familiar with that particular radio he was talking about, but you just have to go through the menu options on that particular radio, and, you know, kind of navigate yourself around to get that. Because like I said, the when you look for repeater frequencies, like in your area, if you're wanting to do that, this is what you would normally would find as the you know, when it comes down to the information on what you would need. You would find a frequency number. You would find if it's a plus or minus shift direction of, and the offset, you know. And then sometimes they would have a tone frequency, which is, they would list it as a PL, which is the same thing. It's synonymous with the was it the T TCTS tone. That's it'd be synonymous with that. So the PL would be that, and that's how it'd be listed in your menu options in the radio. But not all repeaters, you know, GMRS, for some reason, GMRS repeaters a lot of times will have a tone that you know, you have to set in there to activate the repeater. Now, just regular ham radio repeaters, on a majority basis, you know, especially here in America, anyway, on a majority basis, I have found that they don't use tones. A lot of times, all you have to do is set the offset and the shift direction and the frequency, and usually that's all you need to activate the repeater. Like for instance, let's see here. Uh, let me see here. Where's I can't remember what number it is. What is it? I think that's it. That's not it. I'm trying to find. I can't remember. Okay. All right. So right there. All right. That's a repeater that's locally to me. All right. Now, that's one thing that I was trying to explain to some people out there. Also, uh, a lot of these, especially the just the ham radios. I'm not sure about a lot of the GMRS, but a lot of the ham radio repeaters out there, the guys that set them up, because all these repeaters are not. These are all just ham operators. None of these are like government owned type stuff. This is all ham operator stuff. They spent their own money. They put their own effort into this and put the repeater up, put it up in the towers and maintain them and all this other stuff. So these are privately owned equipment. But majority of them, like I'll do it again, majority of them, they'll have some kind of something that will come back to you when you actually activate the repeater. Here, I'll do it again. Here. See that? See, I activated the repeater and it came back with that little tone. You know what I mean? That means I hit the repeater. All right. So, when it comes down to it, when you guys try this out, like I said, I'm a pirate radio guy, so I really don't see I don't really recognize the bureaucratic FCC crap, in my opinion. But you know what I mean. Just for YouTube crap, the FCC will get on to you if you use ham stuff and you're not a licensed ham. But that's not really what you got to worry about. You got sad hams. Oh, what's up, Devil Dog? You got sad hams out there. You got these guys that I mean, they take ham operating or ham radio stuff like it's a freaking religion, and they're big tattletales, and they can be jerks. You know what I mean? I mean, that's what puts a bad taste in a lot of people's mouths from even becoming a ham operator, including myself. No, that's one thing for me. But the other thing for me also is I don't register my speech with the government. You know what I mean? And I see the government doesn't own the airwaves. That's how I look at it. You know what I mean? And getting a license is nothing but a tax. It is nothing but a tax. All right. It's FCC doesn't do anything to benefit or even, or even, make it to where, people want to enjoy the radio hobby. The FCC is nothing but a revenue collection and enforcement type agency that's bureaucratically, it's not even elected. It's, appointed by the damn president. It's just a bureaucrat crap. You know what I mean? It's stupid. I don't recognize their self-proclaimed authority. You know what I mean? But you know, I'm not telling you guys to do what, you guys do what you want to do. You do you. You know what I'm saying? But if you feel like you want to get that ham license, or you feel like you want to get that GMRS license, you do you. You do what you want to do. All right? And when it comes down to this, legally, there's a whole nother thing too. Legally, if you want to use these GMRS repeaters, you have to have a GMRS license. Same thing with the ham repeaters. If you want to use these ham repeaters legally, you have to have a ham license. And like I said, FCC's not going to come after you unless they get a bunch of damn sad fucking hams out there bitching and moaning and complaining and tattletaling. You know what I mean? FCC ain't got the budget, ain't got the manpower to do anything. And the only time they're going to do anything is if they get a bunch of complaints. And even then, they got to go through all this damn investigation, which could take up to months to years of investigating. So it's whatever. You know what I'm saying? And it drives me nuts too, because I've seen it where you got what I call sad, the sad hams out there. You get these areas of emergency where, like, the storms that came through, and there's people out there that've got these radios. All right. They have a basic knowledge on how to use them and how to get to certain frequencies and get to a repeater and stuff like that. And they might be in a situation of life and death, and they need help. And they're getting on there, and you got sad hams on there that's like, well, you can't be on here. You don't have a license. Oh, shut the fuck up. You know what I mean? That's how shut the fuck up. That's just, it's not, there's no humanity in that, and it's not necessary. It's stupid as shit. Also, if you read the rules of the FCC rules, which is not laws, all these things that the FCC lists as rules, they're not laws. But in the rules, in a state of emergency anyway, you don't need a damn license. All right? So all you sad hams out there, you need to get off your fucking high horse thinking that you're better than everybody else. And it drives me, oh, what's up, Billy? And it drives me nuts. You get these guys out there that they put themselves on this high pedestal like they're better than everybody else because I've got a license and my radio costs $3,000, blah, blah, blah. I'm better than you. Yeah, fuck you, you fucking twat. Well, because I've actually had people, because I'm a CB operator, man. I've been talking on the CB radio, and I use this. This is my radio. Now, technically, this is sold as a 10-meter ham radio. I've modified it so I can expanded the frequency range where I can get to 11 meters, which is the CB band, all right. And I use this as my CB radio, basically. All right. And I've talked all over the world with this thing. All right. The thing is like, this is different than this. This is more like a tool. This is more like, you're not going to see on this one. I can talk to random people all over the world just because I want to talk to random people. This is not necessarily the type of radio to do that with. This is more like to keep in contact and communications with people that all right, and or to get help. You know what I mean? To find, or to relay information and blah blah blah. This is more like a tool. This is more like having fun. This is how I talk to my neighbors, and stuff like that. How I talk to my buddy down the, a couple of counties away, or talk to people states away, or talk to people across the damn pond, when the conditions are right. This is just, just something I can use to talk to people. I agree, UK Champ said, but that it is killing the hobby. It's killing the hobby when, because I had a ham operator come on the CB band and sit there and literally and he thought he was better than me because his radio cost more than mine. And I was like, well, fuck you, you fucking piece of shit. You know, you're a ham operator. You got a license. Go to goddamn ham frequencies. Get off the CB band. You got all these other frequencies that you're allocated by the government that you can go on, and you got a damn license to do it. Go there. Stay off the CB band. Hell, they pitch a fucking fit if a CB operator came on ham frequencies. You know what I mean? They pitch a goddamn fit. It's just annoying. You know what I mean? And on, like I said, and all it is one transceiver talking to another transceiver. It's not fucking life or death unless it is an emergency, but it's not a not all. And UK transfer, I'm telling you, not all started on CB. There's some guys that started with ham, and that's where they've always been. And then they moved to CB because they want to start hate and discontent, and they want to show off all their stuff, and like they're so knowledgeable. I know more than you. I've got a license and blah blah blah. It's all crap. It really does put a bad taste in people's mouths when it comes down to getting into the hobby. I mean, like I said, I don't get into ham operating or ham stuff simply because I don't register my speech with the government. And then plus I don't want to deal with jerk offs like that all the time. And it's really funny too, because you get the highest level of ham operator, which is an extra class, or these are supposedly the cream of the crop of the ham operating world. You go to 4200 of the 40 meter band, and these guys are worse than channel 19 on the fucking trucker channel. You know what I mean? It's just mind boggling sometimes. And these are supposedly the cream of the crop of the ham operating world. Yeah, well, stupid, but like I said, I wanted to just kind of show that, you know what I mean? Because like, when it comes down to these emergency scenarios with these storms and stuff, well, yeah, exactly. UK transfer. Yeah, exactly. Yeah. But I don't really care, honestly, because I modded this radio. This is technically marketed as a 10-meter ham radio. All right. And I modded that. I modded this to get to the CB band, but I don't talk on the ham radio stuff. I don't talk on 10 meters. I don't talk on 12 meters. I talk on 11, and the free band, like, the 555. I do stuff like that. You know what I mean? That's where I do all my talking. You know what I mean? But, you got a lot of these sad hams out there that just want to keep, if you ain't got a license, oh, well, you can only stay on FRS. You can only stay on the CB band. You can only stay on the MERS frequencies. That's all you can do. No, we've got a license, so we can go all these other places, and you can't. That's how they go. That's how they act sometimes, which is unfortunate, because not all ham guys are like that. I know some guys that are ham operators. They're very good people. They're willing to help you out. You know what I mean? And stuff like that. And it's just like, but you get these guys out there, what I call the sad hams, the ones that, are, in their late 70s and stuff, and so fat they can't get out of the goddamn chair, and they sit on the radio and bitch and moan all the time, But like I said, in these emergency scenarios, when it comes down to the, like all these storms and stuff like that, this kind of information is very helpful, because even then, even according to the rules of the FCC, you don't need a license. All right. So don't get, afraid to ask for help, and maybe even bring information that's, pertinent to the situation, like, oh, the road is out here, or there's stuff like that, like that, there's a house on fire and there's people in it, we need help, or whatever. Don't get afraid to use the ham radio, um, if you don't have a license. Don't get afraid, because technically we've been in, technically, if you get to the letter of the law, when it comes down to it, technically we've been in a state of war ever since World War II. We have never gotten out of it. We've never been in peacetime. We've been in wartime ever since, in one way or another. But uh, the way things, the way people, believe in this religion of government, oh, we got to have daddy government declare a state of emergency before we can even do anything, which is bullshit. You know what I mean? It's just bullshit. The governments around the world do not own the airwaves. They just want to control it, because they want to control our speech. They want to control our thought. They control us from communicating with each other freely. That's why this is censored so damn much. These are not really censored all that much. You really can't do nothing unless they start jamming the frequencies, or start, pumping up their budget to do enforcement, where they start tracking people down and trying to find them or take their equipment or whatever. But other than that, they really can't, with these radios and stuff, they really can't, they can't stop us, you know, you know, um, they can't stop us. And that's another thing I love about walkie-talkies, is that we can always stay on the move. So it's very hard to triangulate the signal and find out where we are if we're always moving. That's the one drawback of having a base station with a fixed antenna, and you're always in the same place all the time. Because, like, for instance, all they got to do is just, triangulate your transmission when you're transmitting and figure out where you are, and there you go. So, but anyway, yeah, it's just one of them things. But like I said, it's like, oh, Cola, what's going on? What's going on? I guess that's how you say it, Cola. But yeah, you know, I've been, I've been really, and there's a lot of different stuff out there, because I've got a list. Like, I've got a book. Now, this is my book of all my different contacts and stuff like that I've done over the years. Different people I've been talking to over the years when it comes down to, all over the world, on the CB. But I've written down a bunch of stuff. I've got a bunch of different frequencies. I got all the FRS frequencies. I got all the GMRS frequencies. There's the MERS frequencies right here, down here. I got the MERS frequencies listed. I've got a bunch of the analog frequencies that for the fire department, the police department, the EMS, like for the areas around me. I've got a bunch of frequencies listed for a lot of the repeaters around here. Let's see here. I've got a bunch of, I've got a bunch of different frequencies listed that for, uh, there's a lot of frequencies around here. It's like the survivalist frequency, the prepper frequencies, highway safety, whatever. These are just frequencies that are out there, that you can find, like in your areas around there and all that stuff. Like I said, I got a bunch of these. These are things that I see. I find them, I write them down, and I got them all listed. And because I personally want my own little hard copy of these frequencies, because I mean, you never know when things go down and you can't access the internet anymore. So I tend to, I write them down. For me, it's easier. And then on top of that, I don't really have any means of printing printing these things out off of a computer or not. So I tend to sit there and just copy it and write it down. So, but like I said, these are things that like I've got a bunch of stuff like most of the railroad frequencies here around this area, whatever, run between 160 megahertz to 161 megahertz. These are for like all the railroad stuff. From train to train, or dispatch stations and stuff like that. I do that also, but then also I write down stuff like for the airports, like plane to plane, or chopper to chopper, chopper to the towers, or whatever. I like to listen to that kind of stuff too, the air traffic. That's the one thing I like about the UV5RM. It has the AM band for like, so I can listen to the air traffic, for the airports, the towers, the plane to plane or choppers or something like that. I've got a bunch of those frequencies already set in here for the air traffic. I also got a bunch of stuff when it comes down to the railroad set in here too. Um, you know, so I mean, that's one thing I like about these radios, because there's still a lot of infrastructure type stuff that still uses analog. Like I said, when it comes down to police, EMS, and fire department. Now, the volunteer fire department, there are a lot of them that still use the analog stuff. But when it comes down to like police and like EMS and stuff, most of that's all turned digital. So these radios will not pick up the digital signal. These are only analog. So I mean, if you want to pick up police stuff, it's probably a good idea to get a scanner, or if you want to spend the money, if you got the money to do so, you can get the walkie-talkies like this one, that are capable of doing digital, which they call DMR, which is digital capable, and you can pick up all that stuff, because otherwise, when you listen to a digital signal on the analog, it's scrambled. um, you know um, let's see here. I don't know if let's see here. i'll I'll go through scanning on this thing. It'll probably pick up one in a minute, but when it picks one up, I'll let you hear what it sounds like. It just sounds like a type of thing. It's a scrambled signal. There it is. That's a scrambled signal. That's a that's just a digital signal coming through the analog, and that's what it sounds like. It's just scrambled. That's what you would hear. So if you want to listen to like police and stuff like that, for it's probably better to get like either a scanner, or spend the money and get one of those uh, radios with DMR, which is digital capable, and you can use that. The only thing is like if you get one of those DMR radios, you're able to transmit, but that's where you can get into trouble when you start transmitting on emergency, services frequencies. They'll notice, and especially if you do it a lot, they'll eventually come after you. You know what I mean? So if I have the capability to get to these digital frequencies and stuff, I usually just use it as a scanner. I just receive. I just listen. I don't talk on them. I just listen. And you know, yeah, I know. UK, they use more like a cell network, don't they? UK transparent. They use some kind of like a cell network, like cell phones almost. Because I've seen that, where it looks like a cell phone on their shoulder. I've seen that when it comes down to what they use. I mean, yeah, it's different over there in the UK versus here in America. You know, used to be here in America. I mean, they had analog, and then they went to what they call a trunking system, which is just a separate system. I mean, it was basically a closed off network where you couldn't. It wasn't broadcasted out in the airwaves. It was just a closed off system, and they went away from the trunking system to digital. Um, so it's still being broadcast over the airwaves. It's just now a digital signal instead of analog here in America. Yeah, and from what I understand, yeah, like I said, I mean, UK Transparency, as long as, from what I understand, you guys over there in the UK, they use more like a cell network, like cell phones, is from what I understand. And so, yeah, it's a whole different monster. If you want, you can't really um, get across there. Oh, they would kick it off the network. Oh, that's interesting. Huh. I don't know. Well, see, that's another thing. Okay, there's enough people. I think there's a lot of smart people out there. I'm not that smart when it comes down to it, but there's a lot of smart people out there can probably find ways around that. You know what I mean? Hack it into it, to be able to, because honestly, I think it's a very beneficial thing is to listening in on what they're doing. You know what I mean? And then on top of that, if you got enough whereabouts about you, when it comes down to it, is listening in and recording. Because some of that radio traffic here, even here in America, um, um, it's public knowledge, and you can get a FOIA request for that radio traffic. But some of that radio traffic recordings will disappear because it doesn't favor the cops. You know what I'm saying? So they'll make it disappear. And that's one thing that is good about it. Rice and peas, what's up? You thought those were good for a few miles at least? What, these radios, Billy? Are you talking about these radios? Yeah. Okay. Yeah. Yes. That's what I thought. UK. That's what I thought. When it comes down to, they just kick it off the network or whatever. Okay. So it's like a IP address in a sense. They would just. Well, okay. Now these radios, yeah, you can probably get a couple miles, maybe whatever, but it really depends on how much wattage you're pushing out the radio and what kind of antenna you have on it. It really depends. Now, if like I said, what I'm going to do, because I'm sometime today, I'll probably get a package in the mail, and what I've got is it's a mobile radio, a mobile antenna for these radios, or for a well, it's got the connectors for this radio, but it's a mobile antenna. And what I'll do with that, it's got a long piece of coax on it. What I'll do with that is I'll probably stick that way up on a tower, on my tower out there, and that will increase my range, because it's a better antenna. And then on top of that, it's up higher. Now, if I really wanted to increase it even more, you can get what is a base station antennas, and have that running into one of these radios, and put that base station antenna way up on a tower somewhere, and that greatly improves the distance and how far you can get out and how far you can listen. You got to understand, the antenna is one of the most important parts of the radio. It's like the where the rubber meets the road. This is what's going to have contact with the ionosphere, and your RF signal is going to be pushed out that antenna and bounce around on the ionosphere around it. So the better the antenna, the better, when it comes down to the you know um, how far you get out and how far you can receive and stuff like that. Now, and like I said, also it is on how much wattage that you push out of the radio. That helps a lot too when it comes down to transmission. You know what I mean? Um, if you can push way more than 8 watts, which is mostly these radios is 8 watts. If you can push more than 8 watts out, you can definitely get out a lot further. You can definitely get out a lot further. But these radios only push about, I'd say, probably at the most 8 watts. All right. Now, there is ways to amplify that. Now, this is my redneck type of way of doing things. Like, for instance, like if I wanted to put a external antenna, like up on the tower, run a coax down to this, what I would do is I would try and get me some kind of an amplifier or linear in line and bump up the wattage. So when I key up, I'm pushing that 8 watts out of this radio, but it's going through that amplifier and pumping up to 20 watts, you know? So there is that. That's what I do with these radios. Like, for instance, these radios, like I do, if I, like I can get probably close to 80 watts out of this radio as it is. Now, if I put an amplifier or a linear in line, I can get, you know, a whole hell of a lot. I got a buddy of mine that's got a amplifier that do, um, uh, um, what is it, a kilowatt, which is about 1,000 watts. You know what I mean? That's 1,000 watts of, to get out. He can push his signal all over the place. All right. So there is that. And, so, um, yeah, these are basically UV5Rs. Now they're just different versions of the UV5R. I've got, this one is a UV5R V2 plus. That's what this one is. It's basically a UV5R. Now this one is a UV5RM. You guys can see that UV5RM. It's just like a upgraded version of the UV5R. But because like I said, you see the difference. The UV5R's got this little tiny screen. It's really not, you can change that color. That's about as far as it goes. But this one, it's got a bigger screen, full color screen. So there is differences. I mean, and it's got a um, few other differences when it comes down to the bells and whistles. Like this has got a couple of options that this doesn't. But this is the basic. This is basically a UV5R, and I've got the extended, larger battery on it, because normally this is what they look like with the regular battery on it. But I've got the extended bigger battery on mine, so that makes it look a little bit bigger and feel a little bit bigger and heavier. But you can tell the difference between the two. This one's got a bigger screen, color screen, bigger buttons. That's just basically the difference. This one pushes out a little bit more wattage than this one does. This one, like I said, it has a couple more capabilities, a couple more options than this one doesn't. So that's the only difference, but they're basically the exact same thing. Most of these radios, like even you get, like I said, the Quansheng K5. Now I've been looking at that UK Transparency because they have that open source firmware, but I don't have a computer. So that's my biggest problem with that, because I've been thinking about getting one, because you can expand it, by doing the modification with the firmware, and you can expand the frequency range and all that stuff with it too. But I don't have a computer and whatever. But I really wish that some of these radio manufacturers, maybe some of these like Chinese manufacturers like Baofeng or whatever, I really wish they would make a walkie-talkie that would do 10, 11, and 12 meter as like a tri-band, and all mode, like AM, FM, and single sideband, both upper and lower sideband. that would be an awesome radio for me. I mean, that would be an awesome walkie-talkie. They used to have them back in the day. There used to be a company that made radios like that, and you just can't find them anymore. They don't make them anymore. You can't find them new anymore, and it's really even hard to find them used. But they were good radios. I mean, they were 10, 11, and 12 meters, and they were all mode, which was awesome. And I would love to see some of these radio manufacturers make one, because like like these Baofengs and stuff, like you were talking about the Quansheng K5. Now, with the firmware modification, the it can expand the frequency range, but you can only receive on majority of the stuff that you can do. You can't transmit. You're able to get sideband, but only upper sideband. So I mean, it's not all that great, but it is kind of a step in the right direction in a way. The UV5R and the K5. Well, see, I don't know if this one, if you're able to do, I don't know if this is open source firmware where you can do all that modification. I'm not sure if it's the same thing, because like even the K5, you got waterfall type, capabilities where you can see like a waterfall type of display and all that stuff, which is kind of cool. This one doesn't have that, or I don't know if you're able to, mod the firmware to do that or not. But yeah, like I said, I've been looking into them. A bunch of my buddies, like my buddy John, that lives not that far away from me. He's another CB operator, and he's a traditionalist. He wants to stick around with like the old Cobras, the Rangers, all that kind of stuff. The old stuff. You know what I mean? Me personally, I've been looking at all the newer stuff, even the export radios. That's why I got into the Strykers, because they were considered an export radio. They were marketed for European countries. They weren't really marketed out here in the U.S. So I started looking into the Stryker, and when they first came out with the Stryker 955, this is like one of the first versions they came out with. They've actually made it a little bit better, but I actually got this from a guy I know out there in the UK. Because when they first came out with this, I drooled over it for about I don't know, about a couple of years. And there was a guy, this was 12 or 13 years ago, actually. There was a guy that I knew out there in the UK that had this particular radio. And I used to talk to him on my radio when the skip was good. And I just loved the audio on this thing. And I'm gonna tell you something. I drooled over the sound of this radio for a couple of years, and he decided he was going to upgrade, and he sold me this one, and I got it shipped out here, and stuff like that. So this is one of the first ones that when they first came out, and like I said, I bought this from a dude out there in the UK, and it still works beautiful. And like I said, they've gotten a little bit better over the years, but I've tend to go toward like high-end 10-meter radios that I can modify, to to expand the frequency range, and because I like how some of these high-end 10-meter radios are. They're very stable on frequency when you're using sideband. They got really good audio. They've got all the bells and whistles that which on a normal basis I don't really need, but they got all that kind of stuff. This one happens to have, instead of like point-to-point type circuit board, they've got the surface mount circuitry in there, so everything's really small and compact and stuff. I really enjoy them, and that's what I've been leaning toward nowadays for myself. Because actually I like the Anytone 6666. I like the Anytone, that one. The Anytone, I mean, I really enjoy that radio. It's really small. I mean, it's like that big compared to this, and it's got beautiful, crystal clean audio. It's very stable on frequency. Um, it's got all the bells and whistles that this has got. Radio's got. You know, I used to have one. I ended up selling it to my buddy John. But if I ever get it, you know, I'd like to get another one. But they're like $400 now. But you know, I don't know. But I've been looking around mostly because I like I look around at like export radios mostly because sometimes what's marketed out there in the UK and in Europe is not, you know, we just don't have here in America. But you know, sometimes what's marketed out there is such better stuff. Sometimes I don't know why. I mean, you know, there's too many people that are like, I guess traditionalists, I guess I would call it, that just want to stick with the old brands, and those old brands haven't done anything to improve. You know, they haven't gone anywhere with their improvements on the radio and any of that shit, and they've been stagnant, in my opinion. So I'm always looking at, like, even like I said, like, even I don't really like Chinese crap, but for some reason these Chinese radios, these are nice. These things are all over the freaking world now. When they came out with the UV5R, dude, they've gone everywhere around the world. Almost there's so many places around the world that's got a UV5R. You know what I mean? So, you know, you know, hell, I mean, you know, I can't say anything about them now because I mean, actually, these are for the price. For the price, these are damn good radios for the price. I mean, they're not waterproof or water resistant in any way. They're not really. I mean, they are kind of rugged, but they're not that rugged. But for $30, hell, you can't really beat it, man. This thing is pretty awesome, and that's why I was saying it's like, I mean, it would be really cool if they would come out with a 10, 11, 12 meter tri-band all mode radio or walkie-talkie, because I know a lot of people here in America, including myself, that would buy one because I think that I know a lot of people. Price of the UV fiber is why I looked at them. Yeah, dude, they're cheap. And like I said, if you break it or whatever, I mean, you know, I'm not really into that disposable type society, but that's one of the things that's cool about these radios. It's like they're so cheap. If you happen to drop it or you know, drop it in the lake or something like that, you're not out of $700. That's what you're going to end up paying for, like some of these other radios like ICOMs and Yazoos and fucking Kenwoods. You're going to pay from like $300 to $500 to $700 for a freaking walkie-talkie. You drop that and break that, you're out $700. You drop this, you're out 30. You know what I mean? So you know, that's why I tend to go to something like this, because I can't afford $700, $700 for a freaking walkie-talkie. You know what I mean? And really, what you're paying when you go to the like the ICOMs, the Yazoo or the Kenwood, you're basically paying for the fucking name. You know, I mean, you know, you get a couple more bells and whistles, but you're basically paying for the fucking name, dude. You know, so you know, there's just it's not worth it to me. You know what I mean? It's not worth it. I'd rather stick with these cheap radios that do almost the exact same thing and do exactly what I want them to do. Because the majority of the time, I've got a bunch of these. Probably got 5 or 6 of these radios, and you know, when I was working as a land surveyor, I used these on the job because these were a hell of a lot better than those vacuum pack walkie talkies you can buy at Walmart or whatever that claim they can do a mile radio. They can't do shit. They're pushing like maybe 0.5 watts, and they got a fixed antenna. You know, and majority of them, all they do is just FRS type frequencies, which I can do all the FRS frequencies on this. I can push out more wattage, and I can change out the antennas. I can put many different types of antennas on this thing. So, which is, right off the bat, those three things make this a better radio. And like I said, I was using this on the job, so I was always in the woods. So and cutting trails through the damn woods for surveying, and these things worked out really nice. And not only that, these things also not only ham radio stuff. I can pick up regular FM broadcast stuff. I can sit here and I can listen to music from the radio while I'm on the job. I can sit here and I can just listen to regular FM broadcast stuff and listen to music if I wanted to, which is the cool thing. And this is also, it's a nice option, but I've got a flashlight right there too. If I needed a fucking flashlight, you know what I mean? There's a, flashy thing for like, signaling or whatever. Not only that, now some of the newer ones, like this one right here, the Bofang, this one, my extended battery's got a port right there where I can, where it's got a cable where I can plug into there and plug into like a cigarette lighter, like a USB, and I can charge this battery through a USB instead of just putting it on the little dock and charging it. Now, this one is actually got a USB-C charging port, so I can charge it through a USB, and instead of just plugging it into a docking, the dock, which is actually kind of nice because it's like USB-C plug port, like a cell phone plug. So that's actually kind of nice. Some of the newer ones have got that, which is actually nice because then I can charge this through a cigarette lighter in the car. I can charge this through like a battery power bank. You know what I mean? I'm not limited to just plugging this into the power dock and charging it. So that's a plus. So they're getting better, and they're still cheap. Like I said, they're still cheap. Now, you can get this probably for like $25, for like maybe the radio by itself. And you get like on Amazon. Sometimes, man, you can get up in price because the different accessories that might come with it. You can probably get this radio, the charging dock, like a lanyard, and you'll probably get like a rubber ducky antenna. That's the cheap route. But sometimes you can get all that stuff, including maybe different antennas along with it. You can probably get all that stuff plus, I think there's like the cable for like so you can plug it into your computer and you can do a lot of the programming for like programming frequencies through the computer instead of doing it like punching it on the keypad. So there's different options you can get. It just brings the price up a little higher, but it's not very expensive. Quite honestly, you can pay $65 and you get two of these damn radios, basically, and with one rubber ducky antenna, which is not the best in the world. So I would advise upgrading, and like you can get all kinds of other stuff. There's a speaker mic. I've got speaker mics for pretty much all of these radios also. The speaker microphones that the cops would use, you see them, they got that little speaker mic on their shoulder, whatever. You can get those to plug into this also. And instead of like talking into the radio, you got your speaker microphone. Now I've got these are like, what I call secret agent type, stuff. It's got the little earplug. It's got a PTT button right here, and that plugs right into the radio. You know what I mean? You can get those too, so you can have this stored away like in like somewhere, and you can have all this stuff run up, and you can be listening through your little secret agent like earphones and stuff. So, there's different accessories and stuff you can get for these radios too. So, I mean, it depends on how much money you want to spend and what you want to do. But there's a lot of different accessories for them, and these the speaker and microphone jacks are the same thing as a Kenwood plug. So if you're looking for accessories like a speaker microphone or whatever, where is it? That's the plug, what it looks like. All right. I can't remember which one right offhand, but one's a speaker and one's a microphone plug that plugs into the side of the radio. Right there. All right. And instead of pushing the PTT button right here on this particular one, that is your PTT button, and your microphone is right here. So like you put that in your ear, you put this in your ear, and you clip this on your lapel or whatever, on your jacket or whatever, and if you want to key up the radio, you push the PTT button, and that little hole right there, that's where your microphone is. You're just talking to that instead, and you can have this stored away somewhere else. You know what I'm saying? So that's what I call the secret agent microphone type thing. I've got a couple of those. Like I said, I've got different setups for different stuff. I've got a radio. I got a chest rig. Matter of fact, here. Let me get my light and all that stuff over there, and I'll show you what I got. I think I've showed a video on it one time before, but I got my chest rig right here, and I've got a radio sitting right here, and I've got one of those secret agent type secret agent type headphones, whatever, on it, and that's what I got on my chest rig. And I've got this is what I got for my my magazines and stuff. I got a knife, and that's all ready to go for whatever I need. And I've got other different setups like that. So I've got radios for every setup. You know what I mean? So even and I even got radios for spare. Like redundancy. But when it comes down to it, like if it got down to the point where like if I've gotten in a situation where me and someone else needed radios, and they didn't have one, I've got a spare sitting on the side to lend them if they needed one. You know what I mean? I've got enough for myself, and then I've also got they say it's like 1 is none, 2 is like better or whatever. It's or 2 is 1, and 3 is just 3 is like a spare, redundancy. You know what I mean? I've got at least 2 of everything, and I try to have at least if I can 3. Because I mean 3 is just a backup of my backup, and 2 is the backup of my primary. Because I mean, if you only got 1 and that's gone, you got none. So it's always better to have at least a backup of your backup and a backup of that backup. You know what I mean, or whatever. That's how I look at it. I mean, if it came down to it, where I had to do like a bug out situation, I'll have to admit I won't be able to take all of this stuff. You know, that's why I've got a lot of different stuff packed away at different types of stuff. So I can grab and go. But you know, depending on how I would have to go, like for instance, you could think about like these like the storms and stuff, and then like for instance, of emergency. You got a hurricane coming. Or are you going to be, or like your house is on fire or whatever. You know what I mean? And and you had to bug out. You had to leave. Um, it's good to have some kind of a bag packed with what you would need. You know what I mean? What you would need to survive and thrive, for a short time and the long term. Got a link, Wignut. Can show you some of my shit. Yeah, if you want to. Hold on. Let me let me do something. Yeah, because I mean, um, I'm not going to show everything I've got, me personally, because quite honestly, I don't want everybody to know what I have. I like to keep a lot of my stuff, um, close to my close under my vest, under my hat. But I'm trying to give some from the information out there for people. Especially when it comes down to like all these emergencies, like all these storms and stuff. Um, how to keep in contact, how to keep in communication. Um, and try to get a little bit more familiar, with the equipment, if you happen to get any of it. Because I mean, I know people that have this prepper mentality, which is a good thing, and they get these radios and stuff and never even used it, don't even really know how to use them. And hell, you got to get into it. I mean, for me, it's like a hobby. I've been talking on the radio for a long time, so it's something I'm used to.
Eddie?
Oh, well, good morning or good afternoon, actually.
That's my base station.
What is that? What brand is that?
It's a Yaesu 991A.
Oh, okay. Yeah, I've got an ICOM base station type. I can't remember what is it right offhand, but I'm thinking about trying maybe even selling it and maybe trading up on something maybe, because um I want a mobile size radio, but I want it to have all the bells and whistles. I want a full band frequency, full frequency band, an all mode. You know what I mean? That's really what I want. What is it? A ICOM 870 or ICOM something like, I can't remember which one it is, but it's a mobile size radio.
Yeah,
That's what I'm wanting to get.
that's marble size. It's HF, VHF, UHF.
Right.
So it's all bands. And I've got me not not so legal things, and then my handhelds. My digital hotspot, that one is. And this is a radio I use if I take it out.
Okay, well, see, I like that setup too. Because I mean, you can go out like just up out on the top of the hill over there, and you can set up real easy, and you know what I'm saying. That's what I like about that kind of thing.
Yeah,
I want to set something like that up, but I got to find the right radio to do that with, kind of like a Go Box type of thing.
yeah. To be honest, I mean that's to say that's the same. It's IHF, VHF, UHF setup. Um, but the only difference is really compared to that and the Yaesu is the Yaesu
What are
will
you
push it.
using? What are you using for an antenna? Like a dipole or something like that?
Now it's a trollinear on top of the roof for for the
Well,
two
for
VHF and UHF, and then I use a 20 meter long wire for HF.
okay, so like for instance, that little Go Box thing that you got sitting there. What kind of antenna you got set up for that?
I've got a choice. Like if I've got room where I am, I can set up a long wire. If not,
Okay,
I've got a loop antenna, active loop antenna.
okay, okay, all right, yeah. I used to know this one guy because I mean I talked to all the CB, but I used to know this one guy that I used to talk to all the time over there in the UK. He'd just go over to this hill down the way from his house, and he'd set up right there in his car, and he'd talk all over the world just right there out of his car over on this top of this hill, and he had a dipole wire antenna that he'd set up, and he had a big pole that he had set up next to his car, and had a platform that he'd drive the tire over so it would stand up, and he would put a couple of guidelines on to kind of like support it, and that's what he talked on.
Yeah,
It was just like a dipole in like a upside down V formation, kind of like a pyramid shape, and he talked all over the freaking world with that thing. And I loved it. I thought it was a cool idea.
I mean back in the day, I used to use ball whips on the car on
Yeah,
top of hills. And yeah, fair enough. I'd also got a 500 watt linear light, but which sort of
r-
helps.
right. Yeah. Have you been? Do you still talk on like what? Do you mostly just talk HF, UHF, and all that stuff, or do you talk on CB band or anything like that? Like the 555, or do you any do you,
And
do
to,
you
to be honest, when it's active, I'm mostly on triple five. I like triple five and 11 meters. To be honest,
yeah,
I find less stuck up people
yeah. Well, I try to break that up. That's what I'm not stuck up, man. I'll talk to almost anybody, and like I used to like well this cycle the 555 has been dead complete. I mean it's been
there. Yeah,
I hear mostly Spanish or Portuguese speaking people on it now, but like 12, 13
yeah.
years ago, when that last cycle came through, man, I was on 555 all the time. I was, like that's the thing about. I mean, there's people that I mean, you hear 1122 wingnut. That's my handle. I mean, I'm kind of like worldwide.
Yeah,
People knew me all over the place,
I spoke to you last year, you know.
huh?
I spoke to you last year on the 365, 375 or 395
Oh
or
yeah,
so.
yeah, 385. Yeah, the 385. Yeah,
Um,
because actually, yeah,
but
385 upper
yeah,
side or lower sideband is my home channel anyway.
yeah, that's it.
Um,
Well, that's a calling frequency. So I think I spoke to you on one of the frequencies adjacent.
yeah, yeah, because I mean, that's what me and my locals talk on anyway. That talk on sideband. Most of the old timers around here still talk AM. But I moved toward sideband because it's just easier for me. A lot of the old timers around here, they're talking on radios on the AM side that they push a shitload of wattage out, and they're always, all that stuff. Man, I try to use the very bare minimum, and sideband lets me do it. because sideband I can use less wattage. I can get out further. It's cleaner. I mean, there's less noise to deal with. That's why I tend to go towards sideband anyway.
No,
Yeah.
look, same here. I mean, I haven't got any amplifiers now, like, and I think that's really part of the hobby. You know what I mean? I mean, to me, it's pretty much pointless if you know when you key up, that person's gonna answer back because you're kicking out like two k or 2 kilowatts or whatever. You know what I mean? I mean, to me, that's
Yeah.
pointless. You may as well just use a phone or the internet.
Yeah. I know. I know. Well, a buddy of mine, he's got a 12 pill amplifier. I mean, he's pushing out about a kilowatt or a little over a kilowatt. And I'm gonna tell you, at times it's unnecessary. It's not even
Mhm.
necessary. I mean, quite honestly, when the skip is just right, I can talk all the way over into Europe with 50 watts or less. You know
Mhm.
what I mean? So
You know,
I,
I've done it on 10 watts. To be
oh yeah,
quite honest, I've
yeah.
talked
I
to
I was actually
most of
I was
Europe on
actually
10 watts.
talking I was actually talking to the lady in the Netherlands, and she was only using 8 watts on her
Yeah.
radio. But the skip was just perfect, though. You know what I mean?
Mhm.
So you know, but yeah, I mean, it depends on that's the thing about radio that I mean, we all have to rely on Mother Nature and the solar cycles and stuff. You know, which is it's okay. It's not a cell phone. You know what I mean? But it's nice because I mean, like I said, every 11 years, you know, I get to talk to people that I haven't talked to in a long time, like over in different countries. I get to go across the pond over into Europe, and in the evening times, I get over into Australia and New Zealand. The furthest I've talked over to the west is I talked to a guy in Japan. Um, you know, but I've talked all over Europe. I mean, UK, Ireland, Scotland, Germany, the Netherlands. I've talked all over Europe. Um, which is kind of cool. You know what I mean? And it's nice. Every 11 years, I get to catch up with people I haven't talked to in a while.
And like going back to what you was talking about earlier regarding the price of the Chinese handhelds, and like a
Yeah,
lot of ham radio operators like absolutely detest them uh,
I know.
because of the
I know.
price. But to me, it's it's sort of it's helping keeping the hobby alive because it's making the hobby more accessible to more people because of the price. You know what I mean? Like
Yeah.
at the moment, like pretty much everybody's struggling, isn't there? You know what I mean? So like most people can't afford to go out and spend like the 7, 8, 9,000 pound for a radio.
Right.
Where,
Exactly.
like
Well, not
it,
only
it,
that. I mean,
it,
like I said, I'm not into the licensing and all that stuff, but not only that, it also attracts people that aren't normally into the radio, and they think about it for like emergency scenarios. Well, it attracts people to get license, the ham license or the GMRS license or whatever. So it does attract people into that just so they, because they want to get into radio or they want to use it for an emergency and they want to have that license and stuff you know but like I said, in emergencies, we don't need a license to do it.
no,
If
no.
we need to call out for help or something like that, we don't need a license to do all that.
And like I put in chat earlier, as far as I'm aware, Uh, the UK government hasn't lifted the state of emergency what they imposed during the pandemic. So technically,
Right.
anybody can use the radio.
Right. It's exactly the same thing here. They haven't lifted those powers yet here in America either because of that. You know what I mean? So technically, we're still in a state of emergency nationwide also. But they want to sit there and say, well, we got to declare a state of emergency before this and that, whatever. No, it's all crap. You know what I mean? So, I mean, actually, technically, I think we've been in a state of emergency in wartime status ever since World War II. You know what I mean? So, because I don't think we've ever been in a peacetime type status since then. You know what I mean? Because I mean, hell, the government here in America, we buy a fucking war somewhere in the world every freaking year or every 4 years. You know what I mean? You know, we're you know the government here, they start something everywhere. You know, they poke their nose into everybody's business everywhere around the world, and and it sucks because yes, very yeah, and that's another thing too that pisses me off. A lot of our tax dollars are going to freaking Ukraine and Israel and all that stuff, and we don't have enough money for all these people that went through the hurricanes here because all that money went to freaking Ukraine and stuff, and it pisses me off. You know what I mean? Um, you know, it's like as far as I'm concerned, you know, Ukraine and Russia, they deal with their own crap. You know, they have to deal. Why should we have to pay for it? You know, same thing with Israel. It's like that's not our problem. You know, it's the same thing with you guys in the UK. It's not your problem either. You shouldn't have to pay for it either. You know what I mean? But you know, our governments, the governments that are over us at the moment in both countries and all over the world, actually, they're basically stealing our wealth for all their benefit. You know what I mean? You know, it's kind of like it's like a Game of Thrones in real life.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? You know, you got these kings and queens that are acting like kings and queens or whatever, and they're all, you know, trying to, you know, push their way around. You know, it's just, and we're just the peasants in the background that they don't give a crap about. You know.
And look, to be honest, in my opinion, I think what the stage that we're in now, I think we're in the stage of the government's creating a problem to later come up with a solution.
They've already got the solution. They created they created the problem. They've already got the solution. So they're just waiting for us to like, oh, government, please save us. You know, that kind of thing.
Please protect us.
Yeah. But they've got the solution already planned out. You know, it doesn't benefit us. It benefits them. You know what I'm saying? You know, it's the same thing with like for instance, okay, they'll create, put it this way. If the governments believe that they can violate our natural rights in a state of emergency, they will create an emergency to violate our natural rights. You know what I'm saying? And that's exactly how it works. It's a problem, reaction, solution. Dude, I love how you got your monitor set up. I love that.
It's good. Number one, when I'm using me Radio software, I can put different things on different screens, or in the same way, if I'm doing any video editing, I can sort of have different things on different screens rather than keep.
Yeah, I like how you got the waterfall one up on the top. I like that. I see. I would love to set up some kind of deal like that on my radios. I like that.
To be honest, I use this as well. For. I can't see too well. Hang on. For changing frequencies and for editing.
Oh, cool. Oh, that's neat. I like that.
And the reason why I do that is if like that is, I think it was £12 off AliExpress. I think it was. So like again, if that breaks, it's £12. If I break the VFO on that, it's a couple of £100.
Yeah, no kidding. And that's another thing too. It's really bothering me. It's like, you know, all the radio technicians that I used to know back in the day are dead, and radio technicians are getting hard to find around here. And that's really messing me up, because I mean, I tinker around with it. I try to fix and modify my own stuff, but I'm not a tech. You know what I mean? So trying to find a technician around, it's just hard. It's hard to find. And there's nothing local. There's nothing in my, you know, in my general area of my state. I have to go out of state if I want to find a tech or anybody that can do anything when it comes down to modifying or repairing my radios, which is messed up. Like, governments have plenty of cash. Let me just plenty of cash to help. Well, yeah, they've got plenty of cash. See, that was another thing too. I went through an old video of mine, and the FEMA here in America, they spent, oh my gosh, a shitload of money on smart guillotines, hydrogen cyanide, and disposable caskets. And then they want to complain that they don't have any damn money. What the hell was FEMA, supposedly the emergency, agency, buying guillotines and hydrogen cyanide for? you know, but and then on top of, like I said, a lot of the FEMA monies were going to pay for all these illegals coming into the country, and yet they don't have any money to to help the American people that are in these hurricane disaster areas. And that just drives me nuts too, because they're giving out $5,000 per illegal, giving them phones, paying their rent and paying their utilities and stuff like that. But yet they don't have any money for American people that their house just got washed away from a freaking hurricane, and that just infuriates the hell out of me. These people that are coming here illegal, they don't deserve any of that crap. They're trespassers.
Pretty much the same kind of thing here. I ain't, don't get me wrong, I've got no problem in helping people that need help, but they've got to do it. They've got to get the help the right way. You know what I mean? I mean, like the situation that we've got over it is the people what coming in and claiming asylum legally are getting sort of pushed to the back of the queue for people what are doing it illegally.
Right. I know. And that's what they're doing here too. See, I don't have any problem if you go through jump through all the hoops and pay all the monies and do it the legal way. I mean, honestly, majority of the time, those people are actually, they're coming into the country, in my opinion, to better themselves and to basically quote unquote assimilate. You know what I mean? Learn our language, learn our laws, and blah blah blah, whatever. But you got these people that are piling in here by the thousands every day, coming here illegally, and they're creating even more of a problem. You know what I mean? And then the government's just turning a blind eye to it, and that's what's just driving me insane. It's basically, like I said, they're right off the bat coming here illegally. They're violating federal law, so they're already a criminal right off the bat by coming here as a trespasser. They're trespassing, and then on top of that, they're getting all these benefits that are supposed to be going to our American people. It's like, I mean, we should deal with our own people first before we can help everybody else around the goddamn world. You know what I mean? And unfortunately, there is not one other country around the world, including the UK and in Europe, not one country around the world that are taxing the crap out of their citizens to give money to American people. Not one. But we pay money out of our tax, out of our wealth through tax dollars, paying it to all these other countries around the damn world. Millions and billions of dollars. It's just it's infuriating. I
think you've pretty much got the same problem there as well, where they're coming in with basically no paperwork, so we've got no way of knowing who we are, if they are a threat, what kind of threat, if they are a threat at all. Like, I mean, like for all we know, we could be having Al Qaeda, terrorist groups, coming into the country, and we've just got no idea.
Exactly. That's the thing. It's like we're not just getting South Americans and Mexicans. We're getting people from all over the freaking world. I think the last what was it, last year, or into this year, the beginning of this year, I think there was up to 60% of the people that were coming across the southern border were actually from China. You know what I mean? And the Chinese government just don't let people just out. They don't just let them go. You know what I mean? So I see this as like an invasion in a sense. It's not necessarily. I'm not saying all of them, but I'm just saying, majority of the people that are coming here are quote unquote military age men. You don't see families, wives, women and children. You see mostly, 20-year-old and 30-year-old men coming in here. You know what I mean? To me, that's like an invasion. You know what I mean? They're
And
it's like a sleeper cells in a sense.
look, this I mean, this is a problem. I mean, look, I would say probably more of a problem here than it is for you guys. Just at least you guys can still be armed. They've took all our rights away to like any legal means to defend ourselves. So if things was to kick off, like, we basically got to go out there with fucking feather dusters trying to fight them off.
Yeah, cricket bats. That was about it. Cricket bats and a freaking BB gun, if that. Maybe even not even that. You know what I mean? Because
in the same way, you got to remember that, like, where a lot of these people are coming from, that they haven't got the same moral compass, let's say, as what we've got. You know what I mean?
Exactly.
So, look, yep. Say for example, that in a lot of these countries, they would have no problem in, like, if a child was attacking them, in taking that child out. Where for us, that's a like a massive thing in it. Like, even if a kid was coming up to you, say with like a machete or something like that, it's not so easy for us to be able to disarm that child, is it? You know what I mean? Taking that threat out. Let's say.
Well, not only that island is not very big. You start getting influx in. I mean, it's like, okay, put it this way: in the next 20 years, how many actual, Londoners or actual people that are, are going to be left? You know what I'm saying?
Mm-hmm.
You're going to be basically replaced. Put it this way: it takes longer for me to get to the top, from the top of Florida to the bottom of Florida, than it does to get across that whole island over there where you guys are at. You know what I'm saying? So that island is not very big. You know what I'm saying? I mean, it takes like 14 hours to get from one end of this Florida to the other end of Florida.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, and it takes less time to get across that whole island over there. And that's just one state here in America. So, comparatively, the size difference, and, you start thinking about how much is coming in, you're basically getting replaced. It's the same thing here in America. That's why, I mean, I start thinking about how much is coming through the southern border, and that's not even including the northern border. I mean, that, it's a little harder, but it's easy. It's just as easy, to get across the northern border that is the southern border. But there's so much coming through the southern border. It's like, we're, and that's another thing too. The governments are actually shipping them around. They're buying them plane tickets and dropping them off in different areas, bus tickets and stuff, and dropping them off in major cities. You got a major problem when it comes down, like New York and stuff like that, like in Manhattan and stuff like that, of all these illegals coming in, and they've got no jobs, no place to live. They become the homeless population becomes even bigger. And, you think about, like, the homeless population as it was with just Americans was a big deal. And now you got all these illegals coming in. And then, there was like what was it, Ohio or something like that? I can't remember, but they were trying to take over a whole apartment complex, by force. I mean, hell, there's a lot of these stores and stuff like that are getting robbed by a bunch of these illegals and stuff, like in big groups. People, a lot of these stores are having to close down because they can't stay in business anymore. It's just it's a big deal. And and rice and peas, you're on the nose when it comes down to that. You're on the nose when it comes down to it, because they want to make it a worldwide issue.
Saying earlier, rice and peas is, in my opinion, what's happening is creating this massive problem where everybody doesn't feel safe to say, well, we can protect you, but what we've got, what we need to do is dissolve all governments and have a central government.
Right. And make it one world government. Yep.
Yeah.
That's where I think that was one of the things they were trying to do with the crap in the arms stuff. You know what I'm saying? They were trying to make, because that was a worldwide scenario. You know, with that you know, that the beer bug crap, whatever you want to call it. You know what I mean? You know, that was a worldwide problem, and they were wanting to have a worldwide solution in a sense. You know, actually, they're trying to bring that back here. And just recently, I was reading an article where they're trying to say that there's a new quote unquote virus or whatever. There's supposed to a new version of the CV-19 or whatever. Trying to bring that back in, where some states are going to try and do a mandate to bring back masks and stuff. You know, I'm like, dude, you know, majority of people here in Florida, we didn't pay attention to that stuff when it happened the first time. We're sure as hell not going to do it again. You know what I mean? And, you know, and that's the thing about, like, a lot of these, like where I live here in the South, you know, you get some of these illegal migrants coming in here and wanting to try and do, like, you know, squatting in homes and stuff. We're not going to take it. You know, and like I said, you know, and that is the advantage, I guess, that we still have here. You know, because they're trying to disarm us. Don't get me wrong; they're trying to disarm us here in America. And but that is one advantage that we do still have. And if the sheriff's department, the police department, or the government won't do anything, we will take it in our own hands. We will do it. We will take it in our own hands. If some crazies want to sit here and try and start, you know, squatting in one of my you know, family's homes, or in my house or whatever, well, you know, I have access to a backhoe, and they'll be buried out there in the damn yard. Nobody knows they're here in the first place, so they'll never know they're gone, in my opinion. That's how I look at it. You know, so I mean, but I worry about you guys over there in the UK. I really do. I mean, because I know a bunch of you guys over there, and I talk to a bunch of you guys over there too when it comes down to it, and I worry about it. If everything does go kicking off, how will you protect yourselves and your family and your property? How will you do it? And
legally, we can't. As simple as that.
Yeah, legally, but you know, if the government's not willing to help, I mean, it's only up to you to do something about it, right? I mean, that's how I look at it.
But the problem we've got, like, I mean, like what's shown even more, I think even more so in the last couple of months, is that when people do stand up, they get sent to jail just for disagreeing, basically, or posting a meme on Facebook.
Yeah, I know. I've been seeing that. They're trying to do that here in America too, because there's been times where the FBI have come to people's houses because of a post they put on social network, on some social media, like on Facebook, on whatever. You know what I mean? And I've seen people in Canada and in the UK actually been put into prison or put in jail because of it, or fined. You know what I mean, for a lot of money for it.
And again, like, I'd say that's like part of a plan. I mean, like, it has worked to a certain degree over here, where a certain group of people feel that they feel fine to go out and protest, but another group of people are scared to go out and protest because now they're going to be like attacked by the police and that for it. You know what I mean? So like, is that leading up to like getting people scared to go to disagree with a government, and then basically they can run roughshod, then, can't they? You know what I mean? Basically do whatever they want because people are scared to disagree.
Yeah, I know. I know. Well, I mean, I was sitting there, I was watching protests because I know a couple of guys over there do a live streams and stuff of some of the protests over there that don't make the news media over here, and I'll sit there and like some of those like queers for Palestine or whatever it was and stuff like that, and I was like, oh my gosh, man. These people are idiots, man. It's like, yeah, go to Palestine and sit there and claim that you're queer. And I'm
Yeah,
gonna tell you something. They'll throw a rooftop party for you guys. You know what I mean? And but they're useful idiots, man. Especially you get those guys out there that are trying to do the ones that were doing they were throwing paint and stuff on the paintings and stuff in
yeah,
the
yeah,
museums. Whatever you call it, the oil
yeah.
protesters or whatever.
Stop oil.
Yeah. And the ones that are sitting there blocking roads and stuff. I mean, I'm gonna tell you something, man. They, there's some places around here in America. You try that kind of crap here in America, you become a speed bump. We'll just run your ass over. We're not going to sit there and let you just block the damn road because you don't, you want to stop oil. Who cares? You know what I mean? It's like honestly,
And look, this is a problem. I mean, look, yeah, it's bad everywhere, but look, in America, to be fair, you've got the majority of your laws are black and white. You're either not breaking the law or you're breaking the law. Full stop. You know what I mean? I, I would tend to do it. I would tend to do it over here. Is to bring a new law out, and it's that ambiguous, that open to interpretation that even the police don't know really what that law's about. And then
yeah,
but with it being open to interpretation, obviously you get the dickheads what or use it for their own advantage and take advantage of it. And it's not really, it doesn't really start to get cleared up until people start saying, well, no, not guilty of that offence, and take it to like a higher court. You know what I mean? For the law to be questioned.
yeah. I mean, I really, because I mean, I used to do a lot of cop watching, and I wouldn't call it auditing. I just did a lot of cop watching back in the day when I was younger, before the internet. I used to go walking around with the VHS camcorder on my shoulder, recording cops and stuff back in the day. So I really enjoy seeing the movement and the progression of it over the years. And now we've got live streaming, and I can get that information or that video out worldwide instantaneously. I
Mm-hmm.
love that. And I actually I appreciate you guys over in the UK kind of starting to do that kind of thing too. I really do. And because you know uh, we have to keep an eye on these these evil people that are claiming to be our public servants or whatever. You know what I
Yeah,
mean?
that's right.
Um,
Hey, no, like
because
one
they're
thing, one thing that always gets me is when like you get people, oh, he was never like this, like going back 30, 40 years ago. Yes, he was. The police have always been the same. It's just that we've never had the ability to share that information like we have now with the
yeah.
internet and like being able to post videos and things like that. We've never had that. We've never had that ability. So, police abusing the power what they do have has always been there.
Yeah. Well, we got to keep an eye on them because I mean, honestly, they're acting like our kings and queens. Even if you're here in America, these politicians and these governors and stuff, they think they act like they are kings and queens. They think they can just do whatever they want, and we're supposed to just bow down and say yes, sir. You know what I mean, and obey.
But
And
that,
that's
but
just
that,
not
but,
how it's.
but that's something that's we're sort of taught from an early age, and it is oh, you see a uniform, never like, and they tell you to do something. don't question it, don't question what teachers are telling you, and so on and so on. You know what I mean? It's something that's
Well,
sort of drilled into us from a young age, isn't it?
well, I'd have to say this: you guys got about 1,000 years of indoctrination more than we do over here.
Mhm.
America was, founded by a bunch of rebels that gave the two finger salute to the damn king and said "fuck you." You know what I mean? And you know what I mean? And that's in our blood. We're rebels. We're that's in our blood. And that's what I hate about this illegal scenario, because they're trying to replace us with these people that are from these countries that are used to that kind of shit, and they're willing to continue that communist or the Marxist or the socialist type ideals and bring it here. You know what I
Yeah.
mean? And
Th- th-
and and
th-
and
Sorry, God, carry on. Sorry,
no,
I'm
go
going.
ahead. Go ahead. I'm sorry. Go ahead.
This it is what I find wrong. To me, if you're if you're fleeing from somewhere in fear of your life, then yeah, fair enough. But then wherever you end up, why would you want to turn that place into a place that you was fleeing from?
I agree. I agree. You know what I mean? I mean, quite honestly, man, I don't want a bunch of cowards that flee from their damn country and then come here and make it worse over here for us. I mean, quite honestly, why don't you just man up and stay in your own damn country and make it better? You know, instead of, I don't want a bunch of cowards coming here. You know what I mean? I want people that, that are willing to stand up for freedom. You know what I'm saying? And quite honestly, I want that freedom, that mentality of freedom to be ignited and spread all over the fucking world like a brush fire. Because quite honestly, we all should be freedom. We should all should be free. You know, all these people that think that they have the moral God-given right to rule over us are a bunch of assholes, and we're just supposed to obey and obligated to, just bow down and do whatever they say. No, you know what I mean? I mean, I don't believe anyone. Quite honestly, I mean, all governments around the world are the problem and the aggressors. Every one of them. All right. I honestly don't think that we need any of them, and they've done nothing for us in our benefit. They've done nothing but except to create rules and all this other laws and all this stuff and punishments if we don't obey their edicts, their will. Yeah. I see you guys in the chat talking about Winkle. Yeah, oh Henry, man. Yeah, Henry's an asshole. Yeah, yeah, yeah. He doesn't come around that much anymore. Just very, very, very few people let him up on panels nowadays. Very few.
Nothing to say on the guy. No interest.
Yeah, I try not to even say his name. It's like Beetlejuice. You say his name, next thing he pops up. You know what I'm saying? You know what I mean? And but yeah, I got no love. I've dealt with him. I've dealt with him for over about 4 years now.
Yeah,
Over 4 years now. And so I'm kind of glad that he's being ostracized from so many places, because he's done it. He brought it on himself, dude. He brought it on himself. You know, I don't feel sorry for him at all. He's lucky he doesn't live near me, or I don't live near him, because I'd go to his house and give him a talking to, because I'd love to see if he would say any of that stuff that he says on the internet to me. I'd like to see if he would say that to me face to face, because he wouldn't have any teeth in his mouth, and he'd probably lose his last eye that he's got in his head. You know what I mean? So I don't know.
I haven't even got that. I haven't even got that much interest in the guy to even want to go and speak to him face to face. To be honest,
dude. I mean, yeah. Well, I see your point, but I mean, I would, see the CB radio back in the day when we, and this still continues today. But back when I was younger, if you had a guy that got on the radio and created a lot of hate and discontent, he always did it or something like that, we would take actions in our own hands. we'd find out where he was transmitting from. You know, we triangulate his signal, figure out where he was transmitting from. We go over there with a big old 4-wheel drive truck and a tow chain, hook it to the damn tower and yank it down. You know what I mean? We didn't go calling the damn cops. We didn't go calling the FCC. You know, we didn't go do that. No, we took matters in our own hands. All right. And that's how I see Henry when it comes down to it. If he was a local, I'd take matters in my own hands, and you know, he wouldn't be talking too much crap, because the reason why he does, and the only reason why he's done as much as he's done, is because he can hide behind his keyboard, and nobody's willing to do anything about it. You know what I mean? You know,
To be honest, I've always said the best way to hurt him is making me relevant. Don't let, like, if not allowed on any panels,
right?
Not allowed.
Exactly.
It's blocked from all, block everybody's chats. That'll hurt him much more than a punch in the face.
Oh, I agree. I mean, that's what it's working so far, because there's very few people that still allow him up. You know, and I mean, you know, he had his own channel for a little while, but nobody went to his damn channel. So I mean, you know, he tries to ruin other people's channels and stuff. Do all that other crap. You know, and but unfortunately, there's a lot of people out there like him. You know, they hide behind. You know, I relate it to the CB radio and the radio world. I've been dealing with that kind of a person for over 40 years. You know what I'm saying? So all this stuff on YouTube is nothing new to me. You know what I mean? It's just the same old crap that I've been dealing with on the radio. You know what I mean? But now it's on the internet. I mean, you know, so, you know, he's nothing new. And, but when it comes down to it, I've learned over the years, just ignoring him doesn't always work, you know, because just ignoring him, he won't get the satisfaction that he get, you know, by, you know, bothering me or whatever. He'll just move on to someone else. You know what I'm saying? So it's just, you know, get it to the point where he has no options at all. You know what I mean? Just you know, basically get it to where he has no options at all. And that's where it's at. And it's working so far, because like I said, he's getting down to the point where there's very, very few people that still allow him up on a panel, or let him on his channel or whatever. You know, so
it's only the first community he's been in and done it too. So you know what I mean, and that's what it takes. Is for him to be completely blanked out, and then he'll try and move on to another community.
Yeah, I know. Well, maybe he was doing that here. I mean, you know, there's like the UK community and the USA community and stuff like that. I'd see him over on some of these, you know, some of the, you know, the cop watchers and the First Amendment auditor type community here in America. You start trying to, you know, buddy up to them people and stuff like that or whatever, you know, and people don't know him and know his history and stuff like that. And then next thing you know, they get screwed over, and, you know, and then they figure it out, or people let him know, because he was doing some stuff too, where he was doing like the AI, where he would change his face and his voice. You know what I'm saying? And you know, he's tried a number of times to porn bomb my channel. You know, when I was going live and stuff like that, he's done that. He's tried doing that. But I think, honestly, in some ways, I think he's one of my biggest fans. You know what I mean? Because he watches all my videos.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? You know what I mean? He's one of my biggest fans.
I've always said this to other people, like auditors and that, when have been moaning about trolls and things like that. I says,
right,
just leave the trolls alone. The troll, like, as a content creator, as a channel owner, the trolls do more good for your channel than like somebody that likes what you do.
Yeah, I don't block them. I don't block them. I just don't let them on panel because I don't want to get porn bombed. But I don't block them. You know, like I said, he watches all my videos. Because I mean, I've gone to some of the channels that that will still let him on. And Nana, what's up going on? And I'll sit in the chat, and sure enough, he'll sit there and say, "Oh, look, it's Anarchy Television." You know, he thinks he's gonna, fight and survive through the apocalypse and all that stuff. And he'll mention a video I just did like recently, and I'm like, "Oh, I knew it. I knew it. You're one of my biggest fans. You watch all my videos. I knew it." I mean, I'm like, I stay in his head. I got a permanent place in his head. You know what I'm saying? It's funny.
I've found in the past people that like you, like what you do, like your videos, like such as in my case, like the audit inside. They'll
Right.
they'll put a comment on your video, like good video, nice video, thumbs up, and that's pretty much it. Troll will keep you talk. You can keep a troll talking in your comments for like 50, 60 messages, and that's good for your channel. Because YouTube ain't seeing the messages as such. They're just seeing viewer interaction.
Right. Exactly. Yep. I mean, so I mean, put it this way, this is one things I've learned from radio too. Um, you haven't really hit the big time until you've got a bunch of trolls. I've got at least one hater in every state and in every country. I've already hit the big time. You know what I'm saying? I just don't have like a million subscribers on my channel, but my channel is not to get for the clicks and views. If I wanted a channel that had a million some subscribers and a bunch of clicks and views, I already know how I can do that. I just have a bunch of drama, a bunch of hate and discontent, and a bunch of fighting, and maybe a bunch of videos of my puppies. I'd have a shitload of subscribers. You know what I mean? But that's not what I do it for. You know what I mean? I use YouTube like I do the radio. I use YouTube for, to communicate with people, to meet new people, have good conversations. That's what I use YouTube for. I just look at it as the radio. It's the same thing. It's just that we got video now, um, so, and honestly, I do my channel for me. I mean, it's nice that other people enjoy what I do, but I don't do it for other people. I do it for me. You know what I mean? Like I said, if I did it for everybody else, I'd satisfy what everybody else wants is a bunch of drama and a bunch of, that was what I was talking about earlier about the live streams. I got really bored because before I went live, I was checking around all the people I have subscribed to that were live, and all they were doing is just a bunch of crap. They were just, it was just a bunch of fighting and a bunch of, hate and discontent and a bunch of name calling and all this other stuff. And I was like, there's nothing productive, nothing positive coming out of this live stream. So I was getting bored. I just flip through it. It's like window shopping. I just go and look and then I leave. You know what I mean? And I move on to the next one.
It's exactly what the government wants, and is everybody fucking infighting and not getting along. Just like when you're fighting with someone, you'll very rarely stand beside them, will you?
Yeah. And New Guru, you're right. It is a waste of energy, and it's it is. I mean, and it drives me nuts. You know what I mean? Because there are people out there that, I mean, sometimes they can have some good live streams, and this conversation can get interesting and productive. But on a majority basis, like there's a couple of them, they do it just for the money. They'll get down to the point where they're like, okay, you sit there and cash at me $5, I can get this guy kicked off the panel, and if everybody like pitches in $5, they'll kick him off the panel. And the guy's making money, but he's a prostitute. He's prostituting himself, for this money. You know what I mean? And everybody's got to make a living, I guess. But I just find it stupid. It's kind of like a YouTube version of like what is it? Survivor. That TV show Survivor. You know what I mean? Everybody's sitting there plotting and planning against each other just so they can win the damn money at the end of the damn game. You know what I mean? And I don't know.
To me, I've said for a long time, it is a shame because like as a whole, as a community, we could achieve so much more. Like I'm not saying like that everybody should be get like everybody needs to get on and there needs to be unicorns and rainbows. You know what I mean? But like let's just say professional courtesy.
Right. No, I
Yeah.
agree.
We could achieve so much more in on the activism side of things if people just look, cut out the ego.
Yeah. Kill your ego, basically kill your ego. You know what I mean? That's where a lot of it, the problems are, is because, like I said, I can relate YouTube to the radio. The radio is the same way. There's, like I was talking about, the ham operators, what I call the sad ham. You know what I mean? You got these ham operators that think they're better than everybody else. There's some ham operators that think, oh, you're a CB operator. Oh, yeah, I'm better than you because I'm a ham operator, blah, blah, blah. Or I'm better than you because my radio costs $4,000 and yours is just a cheap da 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 da. You know, I'm like, I mean, that's your criteria. Is like, you think you're better than me because you paid more for your radio, or you think you're better than me because you got a ham license. Screw you. You know what I mean? It's the same thing here on the internet. You think you're better than me because you got more subscribers on your damn channel than I do? Who the fuck cares? This damn YouTube stuff is not life or death, man. It's just YouTube. Same thing with the radio. It's just fucking radio, man. I mean, it's just radio. It's a freaking hobby. It's the same thing with this YouTube thing. Some people take it a step further and they try to make a living out of it. I know some people that have quit their jobs and they do YouTube as a job. That's how they make their living. Some people do it as a good way. I know a guy that he took his hobby, which is fishing. He took his hobby and made that into a YouTube channel, and now he makes a living just by going out fishing and making videos of him fishing. I mean, that's awesome. It's wholesome. It's actually you know it's a good thing. But then there's other people that take it to another extreme. You know what I'm saying? And like I said, that one guy I'm talking about, I'm thinking about right off on top of my head. I mean, he sits there and baits the people in chat that sit there and pay him money, to get people kicked off the panel or whatever. You know what I mean? or he'll sit there and it's like, I will change this guy's name on the panel if you pay me $3, or you pay me $5, I'll change his name, or or whatever. I'm like,
And I always says from the very start of setting my the channel, this channel for me was never about like making it big, making money, even money off it. To be honest, the main aim for this channel, as far as I was concerned, was always to encourage other people to go out and record the police.
Right.
You know what
Right.
I mean? If people watched more videos and thought, well, if that bumbling idiot can do it, I can do it. Then look, and I went out and started recording the police. Then that's great as far as I'm concerned. And
Well, I mean, also that I think that's a benefit to the community, a benefit to the people, because it gives information out. I mean, now, I mean, granted, there are people here in America that do that auditing and the cop watching stuff, and they don't even know what the hell they're doing, and they're just trying to start shit. There was actually one guy that would actually call the police on himself just so he can make a video. You know what I mean? I mean, that gives a bad look on people that are trying to educate people on the law and stuff like that.
Mentioning our names, Patrick.
Yeah, I'm not mentioning any names. If you're around the community, if you understand, if you've been around the community a while, you know who I'm talking about, and you know what I'm talking about. You know what I'm saying? So oh, Huckleberry, you know who I'm talking about. But anyway, but yeah, there's a lot of people out there that really, I mean, like I said, I'm not trying to single anybody out, but there are people out there that really does a disservice
Yeah,
to
yeah.
us. You know what I'm saying?
And
And
it's like the thing over here. On like to be honest, on the auditing side, I think he's doing a lot of damage. Is the private business thing
right,
going like they're going to private businesses? I mean, like, don't get me wrong. I do think there is a maybe a couple of people what are doing it respectfully as possible. But then, as others what are going purely to instigate, and to me,
right,
it's now good going out to attack the very people we're supposed to be there helping the
right.
general public.
Yeah. Well, that's the reason why. I mean, I came on tonight, and honestly, okay, transfer there. I can't stay too much longer because my battery's starting to get low. But that's the reason why I came on this live tonight, because I was like, okay, well, and I haven't done a live in a while. Honestly, it's like when my dad died in January. It's like I haven't really done a whole lot of live streams. You know what I mean? But I've been thinking about things, and I've been trying to figure out like what I want to talk about and what I want to put out there and stuff like that. That's the reason why. And honestly, like I said, I got this comment like yesterday, I think it was, asking me on a certain, this radio subject. So I was like, well, why don't I do that? Maybe, and then maybe this can help people somewhere down the line. It's like,
Hmm.
people that are getting into these little walkie talkies, you know what I mean, that really are new to this radio hobby, are new to the radio stuff, and they're trying to get into this thing for like emergency type scenarios. What information can I get out there that may be helpful? You know, if somebody is really wanting to figure out how to set frequencies into the radio, and they don't know the first thing about this stuff. Okay, well, I mean, I know there's other people out there that do it, and there's some people out there a whole lot smarter than I am, and a lot more articulate than I am. But at least I can put my 2 cents in there. You know what I mean? I can at least give the information that I know, and help some others to actually get a little bit more knowledgeable about the equipment that they might have. You know what I mean?
Sometimes like the intelligence when you're trying to portray instructions for something can be a hindrance to some people as well, can't it? You know what I mean? If you start going all technical and things like that, people are like, well, what the fucking hell does that mean? You know what I mean? Where
Right.
like if somebody can put it in basically layman's terms, and more people
Exactly.
can understand that. And,
Exactly. That's
and if
where I stand, because I'm not a technician, and I'm not like an electrical engineer, so I'm not going to talk in those terms. So
Mhm.
I'm going to tell you in more of like a layman's terms on how things are going to happen, or how to do stuff, and it would more people will actually understand it, and because honestly, like I said, I'm a CB operator. There's not much to that, but you start getting into this ham radio stuff, it can get really technical.
Mhm.
There's a lot of different stuff when it comes down to this stuff, and it can really get overwhelming when it comes down to the information. And
Yeah,
I want to
I mean,
make it as simple as I can.
look, to be honest, I find what interests a lot of people, especially with like the little Chinese radios and stuff like that, is look when you start telling people that on occasions you can actually hear the ISS space station. That's 145
Right.
800. You know
Yeah.
what I mean? And like basically all you need to do is like get an app on your phone just to tell you when the space station is in view, kind of thing.
Right. And that sometimes that could be so interesting in some aspects. Just listening into those conversations from the International Space Station, just listening that, or even making a contact, that could be exciting in some ways. I
Yeah.
find it exciting when I can get across the pond and I talk to somebody in Europe. I get excited. You know what I mean? I love
Mhm.
that. I love being able to talk on my radio and get out of this country into the UK or into Germany or into Canada or in Australia and talk to people. And that's what I like to do, honestly. Like, for instance, okay, when we were talking about the protesting and stuff like that happens over in the UK, news agencies, mainstream media over here don't really talk about that kind of stuff. They don't make that's not something that you see on the mainstream media over here. But if I want to find out about a protest that's going on in the UK, I'll talk to somebody in the UK that that lives there and find out about it. You know what I mean? And I like that.
I mean, look, I mean, if you get for the channel, if you're going down like the prepping route kind of thing, and look, simple things like how to make a basic battery charger.
Right.
Like if you got a stream nearby, using an alternator from a car and making your own water wheel.
Right. Yeah. Well, I mean, that's another thing too. I mean, it's there's not I mean, there is some still wildlands over there in the UK. I mean, but there's not as much there is here. All right.
No.
But I find it so interesting when I see people over in the UK or or outside of London or whatever, that are actually going camping and showing camping skills. You know what I mean? When it comes down to going out and doing I guess bushcraft, I guess you would call it, or whatever, and showing that, because I think that's interesting. Because there's not. I mean, there is still some wildlands over there, but there's not as much as there is here. So I still find it interesting to see people going out and actually doing that, and teaching others. I mean, kids nowadays, it's unfortunate. Kids nowadays, majority of them don't even know how to start a fire. You know what I mean? And back when I was a kid, it was almost like a rite of passage. You know what I'm saying? Is to learn how to make a fire, and going camping and be able to, and spend a few days out in the wilderness or whatever, and be okay. Kids nowadays, it's unfortunate though. Unfortunately, a lot of kids nowadays are so hooked onto the cell phones and the computer. They don't go out into the nature. They don't know how to deal with bugs or whatever, or
again now, is that by design? Look,
that is a good point. That is a good point.
Creating future generations that rely on the system, like the whole digital system, the whole, like they need the government there to wipe their arse for everything. You know what I mean? Is that by design?
Well, that is a good point. That is a good point. Because I mean, honestly, I think that is part of it. Because honestly, the self-sufficiency, I will say this, and I've said this before also, like, this last Hurricane Helene that came through and did a lot of damage up into North Carolina. Actually, there's parts of North Carolina where I used to live that are just wiped off the map now. But the people that live around there are a different breed of people. They're more self-reliant, self-sufficient. It's American people helping American people, and American people getting it done without the help of government, and at sometimes actually in spite of government. To me, that's pure anarchy right there. You know what I mean? That's what pure true anarchy is. It's unfortunate that there's so many people, especially the younger generation, that don't even understand that, because they're so reliant on the government that's going to come save them and protect them and all this other stuff, when it's just not true. And we've seen evidence of this, like in the past hurricanes that just came through here in Florida and up in North Carolina, up in there and all this stuff. Because, I mean, and right now, it's getting into winter time. I mean, a lot of these people that just got wiped out from the hurricane are going to have to start dealing with winter coming.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? So it's a big deal.
Did you get hit at all by Helene?
Me personally, I had a lot of rain and a lot of wind, but that was about it. So because I got the outer edges of it where I'm at. So yeah, I didn't get that much. And then there was the Milton or whatever it was, the one that came right
Oh,
after it.
yeah.
That was south of me, so I didn't get nothing but a bunch of wind off of it. So it didn't really affect me that much. But I was here in Panama City when Hurricane Michael came through, and that was a big deal because it was a Category 5 that came through, and it did a lot of damage. I had worse damage in the town down the road from me, from where I was. I got a lot of wind and rain damage when it comes down to like trees getting blown over, a lot of damages like some of my neighbors and stuff. I mean, honestly, even when Hurricane Michael came through, this was like I don't know, 5 or 6 years ago or something like that. I can't remember now, but there's people still today that have blue tarps on their roof from that hurricane. You know what I mean? And that's because, like, you know, FEMA didn't do nothing. The same thing with the hurricanes that just happened now. It's like FEMA is actually becoming a hindrance when it comes down to it. They're trying to steal people's, civilians, that were bringing supplies. They're trying to steal those supplies from them, and it's just crazy, and I don't know, man. It infuriates me on how much government gets in the way, and not really doing much.
Well, I
You know?
know, like, as at least a couple of insurance companies want to pull completely out of Florida, and that's how people
Yeah.
are struggling to
Yep.
even get out, property
Yeah.
insurance now.
Well, that's the same thing up in North Carolina. Most of those people didn't have flood or landslide insurance or anything like that because it wasn't, wasn't a thing, and plus it was just more expensive if you did get it. So a lot of these people aren't going to be able to, people might call this as conspiracy theory, but there's a lot of stuff going on when it comes down to there's some of those areas that got hit really bad. There's a big thing when it comes down to lithium and crystal mining that wanted to go on through there, and they couldn't do it because there was people living on that land. Now these people are going to be forced out of their land because they can't pay, they didn't have insurance to pay, and they can't afford to rebuild and all that stuff. So they'll just try and find the easy way out, and they'll come in and they'll buy their property up. Next thing you know, there'll be a damn lithium mine or a fucking crystal mine being put up right there. And like I said, it could be a conspiracy theory or whatever you want to call it, but there's a lot of people that were actually approached by a lot of these companies to buy their land, and they refused. Next thing you know, a freaking hurricane comes right through. You know what I'm saying? And with all this technology of weather modification and stuff like that, there's a lot of technology nowadays that's been advanced over the years, and they can manipulate and direct hurricanes. And so, it's quite possibly, and you think about it also, you start looking at it. You can do a simple Google search also and just Google up the company.
Project Harpany.
Yeah. And then also you look at like these companies that actually provide weather modification and cloud seeding as a service. And you look at how much they charge for this stuff. Only governments can afford that money, afford that service.
This is what I've always said regarding this, like the project Harp, is like that. Well, like if you go off what they claim, that it can it's only a localized thing where we can stimulate clouds to rain. Yeah, fair enough.
Right.
But just say, for example, in Africa, you stimulate clouds for rain. Rain cools the area down. Yes.
Right.
Whenever it rains, it always goes a little bit few degrees cooler. Yeah.
Yeah.
That to me then can alter the path of another weather front elsewhere.
Well, isn't that what they call? Isn't that like what they call like the butterfly effect?
Yeah.
You know what I mean? It's the same thing. Because I mean, here in America, we're not the only ones doing it. You got China, they're doing a lot of weather modification. You got, a lot of other countries that are doing the exact same thing. You start, you get into that butterfly effect. you know, like you said, you know, you affect the weather in Africa, for instance, that can affect down the line other places around the world in a negative way. You know what I'm
Yeah,
saying? You know,
because like all weather fronts move across the planet basically by like hot and cold like fronts, don't they? You know what I mean? So you alter the
yeah,
temperature, you alter the temperature in one part, then it can obviously alter the path, say, of an hurricane, can't it? You know what I mean?
yeah,
Because you've changed the temperature in that area.
yeah, yeah. I mean, I can't remember how old you are, but I mean, when I was a kid, I don't remember seeing, you know, like back in the early 80s or something like that. I don't remember seeing, you know, contrails and stuff like that all over the place. And it's, you know, I see them all over the place nowadays.
Hmm.
You know, you get a bunch of planes doing the crisscross pattern. Next thing you know, the whole sky is clouded up or with this big haze and stuff, you know. And I mean, you know, and hell, back in, what was it, 98, the U.S. Air Force claimed, even on their website, they claimed that they will own the weather by 2025.
Hmm.
2025 is just a few months away. You know what I'm saying? So, um, you know, so I mean, you know, it's not a conspiracy theory, quote unquote. It's a reality. You know what I mean? They're really, and that technology has advanced a lot.
Yeah,
You know, since Vietnam, for instance.
you can't mess with Mother Nature without there being consequences, can you? You know what I mean? It's
Oh, right.
just a rule.
Exactly. Exactly. And I mean, you know, me being a radio operator, I mean, I have great respect for Mother Nature. I'm gonna tell you, and Mother Nature will shake us off like a flea on her back if we keep on fucking around. You know, it's that fuck around and find out scenario. You know what I mean? And a lot of these corporations and companies and governments around there, they got that fuck around and find out type of mentality. You know, they don't really even know the consequences. They're just gonna fuck around. Eventually, they're gonna find out, and you know, it's gonna be big time.
But
And
that's
that's
the thing, is, I mean, like these big like leaders of these big corporations and stuff like that, they ain't the ones that's going to get the consequences, are they? We are the
no, I,
everyday people. That's who's going to see the consequences.
yeah. Well, I mean, you know, it's like somebody said, it's like you control the weather, you can control the world, you control the food and water, you control the people. You know what I mean? And you know, if you can control the weather, you can control the food, you can control the water. You know what I
Hmm.
mean? And that's where it comes down to, is control. And and we're the ones going to suffer the consequences of it. I mean, because honestly, you know, I'm just one person. I can't go out there and fight this monolithic type, um, you know, shadow government in the background that's trying to rule the world. You know, they want to be the masters of the universe, you know, in a sense. And all of
It,
us are supposed to just bow down and obey. You know what I mean?
it's always going to be, like, in my opinion, it's always going to be difficult, isn't it? Because you're fighting against some, like, a plan that's already 20, 30, 40 years ahead of you. You know what I mean?
Yeah. Well, it's
Things
yeah.
what they're implementing now is what they probably thought up, like, in the 50s and 60s. You know what I mean?
Oh no, man. Honestly, it's been in the planning works for, well, a long time, quite honestly, man. You start looking into, like, you know, you know, the Masons and the, you know, I don't think was it the Knights Templar was ever disbanded or ever disappeared.
Hmm.
They're still around. You know what I mean? So I mean, this is 1,000-year plan type scenario,
Oh, I'm not saying, like,
multi-generational.
the parts of a plan what are being implemented now was probably thought of, like, back in the 50s. I ain't saying the whole plan. I'm saying the parts of a plan
Yeah.
what are coming out now, kind of thing.
Well, I mean, you know, I mean, even as truth is always like one of the first casualties of war. You know what I mean? When it comes down to it, you know, and so that's why you get so much censorship when it comes down to, like, you know, the social networks and stuff like that.
Mhm.
I mean, hell, it's not a new thing. I mean, I remember it was like over in Europe or in England or whatever, back in the 11th century, the king would actually control the basically the news in a sense of that time, you know, because if it went against the king's narrative, you know, you'd be thrown in a damn, you know, a hole somewhere, you know what I mean? You know, for trying to spread, you know, this information or whatever or truth. That went against the king's narrative. I mean, it's nothing new. It's been happening for centuries. You
Yeah,
know what I
yeah.
mean? And now it's just a more digital, more modern type scenario today. Um, you know, and but truth is always treason in the empire of lies. You know what I'm saying? But
And
hey,
like I've always says, democracy is the illusion they want us to have. You know what I mean?
yeah, I agree.
It's easier to control the masses when they believe they have a choice.
Well, put it this way, okay. And I've been, hey, I like I said, I pay attention to you guys over there. When's the last time you guys were able to vote for your PM?
Well, a few months ago, when isn't that worked out brilliant? Apparently.
You know what I mean? I mean, honestly, they just put whoever they want in there and said, "Screw you guys! We're not, you know, you don't, we're not going to let you vote." You know what I mean? And honestly, I think democracy is what's actually destroying our constitutional republic here in America. You know what I mean?
I've got to be honest. I think like the person that's sitting in number 10 Downing Street, the Prime Minister, and most likely the same for you guys, the President, is just a scapegoat
Yeah,
for it.
yeah,
If something goes drastically wrong, like they can say, well, it wasn't us. It was that person. We've got rid of him now, so we're all right.
right, right,
We got another person. Yeah, you know
right.
what I mean.
Yeah,
Where if there's one leader, full stop, something goes drastically wrong, as now backpedaling kind of thing is for the shadow governments, let's say.
yeah. Well, I mean, you know, if they get it to that one world government, you know, there'll be a bureaucracy outside of every country, you know, kind of like the WF and the WHO and all that stuff. You know, and you know, these people that are unelected and we have no say in all that stuff, you know, and they want to control everything, every country, you know, and how are we supposed to defend ourselves from that? You know what I
Mhm.
mean? And you know, it's a serious thing that you know people need to really keep in mind. I don't care if people call me a conspiracy theorist. I don't care if people call me crazy or a tinfoil hat stuff. I know the truth, and you know, the only problem is like I can't remember who said it. Somebody said it a long time ago, but it's you know it's easier to convince to deceive the masses than to convince them of the truth.
Yeah,
You know
yeah.
what I mean? And that's where it's at. It's like they, you know, it's just so much easier to, and people are more likely to believe a lie than be convinced of the truth. You know what I'm saying? And that's what's unfortunate. And
Well,
you know,
this is to be honest. I don't think. Well, majority of people wouldn't don't like to think that their government's against them, would they? You know what I mean? They want to think that the government's there for them, not against them.
yeah, I know they want to believe that, but that's not that you know. But that's the thing. It's like you know, belief and see, belief is always in conflict and in you know, it's also always fighting against knowledge or knowing. You know what I'm saying? You know, I can believe that the sky is peak polka dots and you know and plaid all I want. It doesn't make it true, but you
Mm-hmm.
know, I can believe that if I want. You know,
And
it's the
and
same thing with the government. You know.
and this is a problem, and it is look, it's aimed at we're just against like the governments and the corporations. We're actually we're against the masses as well. I mean, I think the pandemic proved that. Like with people when the governments
Well, I
started
know. Well,
saying, well, if these people want to refusing to comply to stay at home and wear the masks and blah blah blah, carry on. They'll be killing. They'll be killing your They'll be killing your parents and your grandparents, and you know what I mean. That's the way
Let me
the world.
ask you this. Let me ask you this. All right, I know a lot of people did wake up from this last time, but if they decide to lock you guys down again, what's going to stop them from doing it?
Nothing,
Nothing.
because like I said before, they've already got majority of the people scared to go out and protest, scared to disagree, because under
Right.
the threat of any freedom being taken away and put in a jail cell.
Right. Well, I mean, honestly, we outnumber them if we all, and see, and that's why I appreciate you for what you do, like on your channel, and a few other, there's a bunch of other people out there doing the same thing. But we as individuals, it's our responsibility and our duty to actually put that truth out there and wake as many people as we can up. Like if we can wake up 100 people, and those 100 people can wake up 100 people, and those people can wake up another 100 people, that's where it starts. But it starts with us as an individual. So we got to do our part. You know what I'm saying? And that's why I appreciate you. You know what I'm saying?
And like I think it was last month, there was on about implementing within schools to teach children how to identify fake news, which would basically mean ignore anything that you hear apart from on mainstream media.
Right.
Yeah, you know what I mean. So like that's the kind of crap that you like against. He's like then trying to basically teach the next generation only listen to what we want you to listen to.
Yeah. Well, I mean, like I said, I appreciate you, and I think you do a good job. You know what I mean? And I appreciate all the other content creators that actually try to put information out and get knowledge out there and get that people to start thinking, that critical thinking. You know what I mean? Because there's too many people out there on autopilot. They're just being told what to do and what to think, what to say, and I mean, quite honestly, my life would be so much easier because there's a lot of people out there that tell me it's like, you should do this, you should do that, you need to do this, you need to do that. And if I just turn off my mind and do what everybody tells me, my life would be so much easier. You know what I'm saying? But I'm not wired that way. You know what I'm saying? I like to think for myself and think a little bit more critically and do my own research. You know what I'm saying?
And that's the thing in it. I mean, look, I'll use the analogy of a matrix. Once you see things and once you kind of unplug to that from that system, it's very hard to be plugged back into it, isn't it?
Yeah, you can't unsee it. Yeah, once you see it, you can't unsee it. You know what I mean? And once you wake up, you cannot go back to sleep. Or honestly, I feel sorry for those that do see it and wake up and then decide to go back to sleep. You know what I mean? Because there are those people, kind of like in the movie Matrix, that wanted to go back. That one guy, Cypher, that wanted to go back into the Matrix. You know what I mean? He just wanted to shut his mind off and go back into the Matrix and become like whoever they make him to be. You know what I mean? And not pay attention and not see the reality for what it is and all that stuff. There's a lot of people actually, they benefit from that. They benefit from the Matrix because they're making money, or they benefit somehow from the Matrix being in existence and to continue to be in existence. Those are the ones that are really the problem, and those are the ones that are actually making it harder for everybody to actually awaken and get out of this slavery mentality, in a sense, because slavery never went away, and it's been around for thousands of years. It's never went away. It's just in a more massive scale, and they changed the name nowadays. We're now economic slaves. We're and it's just unfortunate. It's unfortunate. But hey, UK Transparency, my battery's down to like 14%, and I got to go. And I really appreciate talking to you, man. And hey, maybe I'll do some more live streams on stuff like that on radio stuff, man. I have to get you back up. because I mean, honestly, this radio stuff, communication is key, y'all. And whatever information I can put out there, and anybody else that I know is radio guys, I want to get out there and try to get some of this information out, and try to get people into this hobby, or at least be aware of it. You know, even if they just use it for emergency type of scenarios or prepping or whatever. And then on top of that, you know, like even on your end, you know, cop watching, or, you know, or I guess quote unquote auditing or whatever, you know, just keeping an eye on the government and keeping them transparent. Because I mean, honestly, who else is going to do it? You know what I mean? Who else? If it ain't us, it's who? If it ain't now, when? You know what I mean? But, and like I said, I appreciate you, man. And I appreciate everybody that came into the stream tonight. Everybody that's in chat, everybody, you know, Wing, you know, Rice and Peas, Indy, Lady Smith, Nana. Let's see here, who else all was in there? Huckleberry was in there. Mrs. Metal was in there. Good to see. I didn't even notice she was in there. That's good to see her in there. New Guru. Let's see here. And quite honestly, if I missed anybody, hey, I really appreciate SG. Yeah, good to see you in there again. I'm glad you showed up, man. I appreciate all you guys. And I'll have to catch you guys on the next one. Hopefully, I'll do another one sometime soon. Like I said, I haven't done a live stream in a while, so you know, but I'm just trying to find things that I want to talk about that's actually useful and relevant and
Yeah, no,
and productive.
just going over what Wingnutters just says. Like even apart from the prepping side of it and things like that, radio can also be a fun thing as well. Like I said earlier, like you can listen out for the International Space Station on the cheap radios when they're coming overhead and that. There is also a amateur radio repeater on the ISS as well, so you can hear people from further afield than what you would on the normal radio, or like a normal land-based repeater on there.
Yeah, I mean, you know, because I mean, honestly, if the cell phones all go down and the TV goes down, us people on the radio are still going to be able to talk to the outside world.
Mm-hmm.
You know what
Have
I mean?
We're programmed in Wingnut, the ISS repeater for AM radio.
No, but I'll have to look that up now. Think about it, but I haven't done that.
Just Google it.
Because isn't there another satellite out there that's got a repeater on it also, not just the ISS?
Yeah, there's quite a few satellites with repeaters on. Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, I won't be doing a whole lot. I won't be doing any talk on it, but I can always listen. You know what I mean? And I just haven't done it yet. But I know there is a way.
But then, like when you go onto the satellites, you like there's also the fun side of making your own Yagi antennas, which obviously are going to be better for satellite work than
right.
A normal omnidirectional antenna.
Well, see, that's another thing too, man, getting into that stuff too. Like I was talking about with these things when it comes down to Billy was asking me, it's like, how far range can you get on these things? And I was like, well, I mean, you know, these things only push out about 8 watts out of them, but it really does come down to the antenna. I mean, it's
line of sight on VHF and UHF. So obviously higher you can get, the more range you can see, then the further you can get out, and that's why like for them kind of radios, satellite work is brilliant, because you've got a plain line of sight up to the sky.
Right. Yeah, I mean, you know, and that's the thing too, is like getting that knowledge out there too, because I mean, there's ways of making antennas. Now I can take speaker wire and make a dipole antenna for these things, and get a lot better reception and transmission with these radios. Just making them out of speaker wire. So I mean, there's a lot of it can be fun. So I mean, hopefully people will get into it.
I mean, you can make a Yagi antenna for them radios out of some pieces of wood and some speaker wire.
Yeah,
As simple as that.
yeah. I mean,
just cutting them to a correct length, same as any other antenna, and putting it
yep.
together.
Yeah, you can make it out of coat hangers, like metal coat hangers. Yeah.
Or even a metal tape measure. A lot of people have made a Yagi antenna out of a tape measure.
Yep. So I mean, there can be some really interesting and some fun things that you can do with radio. So I mean, hopefully, we can attract more people into the hobby. Even if it's just CB radio or like I said, I'm not a ham operator, but maybe people can get into this also. But just getting into the hobby altogether, I think it's awesome. I mean, that's the reason why for a lot of years, that's all I did on my channel was did video gates of conversations that I did on my CB. You know what I mean? And lately I haven't been on the radio on my CB radio in a while because I need a new power supply and I need to do some work on my antenna. So I've been off the air for a little while until I can get all that stuff worked out. But maybe I'll get back on the air and we'll get back doing some more of those video gates. But I'd love to have you back up and on another live, we can talk radio stuff and stuff like that, and maybe give some information to people out there. But anyway, I gotta go. I've got to go.
I can get some diagrams and things like that of simple antennas and go through them kind of thing how to make a simple antenna.
Yeah, I mean that'd be awesome. Because it's really easy. All you just got to know is the simple math and figure out the lengths of the antennas for what frequencies you're going to be using and stuff like that. It's really not that hard.
Yeah, I mean, like such as 2 meters, which is 145 megahertz, and like all you have to do is get the bandwidth, which is 2 meters, and then to make half wave antenna, you need a meter of wire. To make a quarter wave, you need half a meter of wire.
And that's the thing about these radios, man. Like the 2 meter and the 7 centimeter, the antennas are not very big. They're actually kind of small compared to the CB radio, which I need like 108 inches or 108 inches of antenna just to get, like, I think it's a quarter wave or for the antenna.
With a CB, that's only 11 meters, isn't it? So they're like, if you're looking at half wave antenna, you're looking at 5.5 meters of cable or metal or whatever to build an antenna.
It's a pretty big antenna. It's a pretty long one. You know what I mean? So that's one advantages over these. It's like these are such a small antenna, and it's easier to hide too if you needed to hide them. You know what I mean?
If you got a computer, Royce and Pease, then look for cheapness and things. What you can do on them, I'd recommend the Quansheng the Quansheng K5.
Yeah, the UVK5. That's the Quansheng. Yeah, QUANSHENG Quansheng UVK5. Like that's the one I was talking about earlier. That's got a open source firmware where if you get on the computer, you can change the firmware on it. Yeah, that's it right there. Yeah, you can change the firmware on it and expand the frequency range on it and stuff like that. So you can listen to a whole lot more. And they're actually, I've been wanting to get one, but like I said, I don't have a computer to do all that mod to it. But there's a lot of good stuff out there. And all right, you guys, I appreciate you guys, and I appreciate UK Transparency coming up. And I'll catch you guys on the next one. 1, 2, Wingnut Radio. Back out.
Okay.